the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Trish.
And this is our podcast. We talk about wrestling news and various topics from different promotions, primarily AEW, but also New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, and topics from around the wrestling world. Whatever we find interesting, and we hope you will too. We are a proud member of the Social Suplex Podcast Network, and you can find our content on our podcast feed, as well as on the Social Suplex Podcast feed and Twitter and YouTube. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and rate our podcast. We are also happy to talk about the Social Suplex newsletter, which is published every month and available at socialsuplex.com. It contains insane amounts of news from dozens of promotions from across the world, and we hope you will check it out. Today is Sunday, February 1st, 2026. Happy Black History Month to everyone in the United States and outside of it, quite frankly. And we're going to kick things off by talking about the Royal Rumble, which happened last night in Saudi Arabia, or yesterday afternoon in Saudi Arabia. I don't know. It was on ESPN Plus, and I got to tell you, Trish, it was one of those weird things where if it had been on Peacock, I probably would have switched it on at some point yesterday. I didn't have a lot going on, and I was kind of sitting around looking for something to watch on TV, but I wasn't paying $30, and I wasn't going through the pain in the ass of trying to sign up for a free fucking trial, so I didn't see any of it, except for some of the clips that people posted, mostly about the yeeting. Did you watch any of the... Did you watch any of the Royal Rumble, Trish?
Wait. So the most things that you saw about it was about eating?
Yes, because everybody was shocked that Brock Lesnar got eliminated during a second or third yeeting encore for Jey Uso.
But isn't that just what they do? They were shocked that he got eliminated during yeeting. But
people were surprised that it was so poorly handled from a production standpoint. They thought that somebody as important and for however many reasons as Brock Lesnar would get a full exit done, not while someone else was yeeting. But we all must bow down to the yeet, apparently.
So maybe just Brock Lesnar just didn't want to yeet, so they just took him out so he couldn't have to yeet. Maybe everyone has to yeet. Maybe that's initiation ceremony. When you come back to the company, you've got to yeet, and if you don't yeet, Roman Reigns must have yeeted, right?
No, I think he tried to punch. He called for another yeeting encore. Supposedly, I did not see this, and then punched Jey Uso in the face when he started to do it.
Yeah. So, okay. So maybe that's what Brock should have done. Maybe you punch the Yeet Man when he's up on the stairs or on the
I could not imagine being in the middle of that fucking Rumble and having to stand there for that entrance and then stand there for that entrance again. Because I guess the whole rule was that they weren't allowed to really do anything, although they broke that rule by... Do you think that'll be a scene in Unreal next year where somebody gets yelled at? Not Brock, obviously, because Brock would never get yelled at, but somebody gets yelled at or humiliated on television because they missed a spot or did something. I know they had that with LA Knight this year.
Probably. Yeah, they made him look like a complete clown on that. It was just like, he's gonna get in trouble. Like you're watching the thing. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, so I thought this was quite a unique show because it is the first time they've done one of their bigger events in Saudi Arabia. They built the stadium in a month, mainly using migrant labour, and there are many issues around that.
Oh, yeah.
In Saudi Arabia and in other Middle Eastern countries. You think back to the Qatar World Cup, that was something else that was brought up around there as well. Brandon Thurston wrote an excellent piece on that this week.
Excellent. Please check it out if you have not done so already.
So, they did that. They put this stadium together in a month. And the idea was they wanted one of the flagship shows ahead of having WrestleMania next year. Now, this is not to disrespect anyone who had to work on that stadium or was forced to, but whoever designed it with the lights...
Shit.
Get yourself a refund. So the idea was to look... I guess it's you look at... I was thinking the 2012 Olympics or just Coldplay concerts, right? They're probably the most prominent ones you can think of. So you have that light look and you can light it up all in different ways and that sort of thing, and it gives it a different atmosphere, but actually it just made it look empty. It made it look like it was going back to the COVID era. It was like being in the Thunderdome, just a very large Thunderdome in the desert.
Either did they?
I thought they did at times. I mean, seeing some of it this morning, there was times when I thought they did sound loud. Does it sound like it would for a Rumble of the past? No. Whether that's miking, whether that's the open air, whether, because there is something to be said for open air stadiums for sure. Whatever it is, it's not maybe what you would have been used to for that, but does that really bother them? No, I think it probably bothers them more that it looked like there was nobody there. For SmackDown, that may have well been the case. I mean, they talk about touts, so most tickets for that stadium were around $15. It was only the kind of front few sections that were worth anything more than that, and even then it wasn't astronomical. So it's not like they were going for kind of huge pricing like they do in the US or in the UK. They went very cheap in order to make sure they filled it, and then made it look like there was no one there. So presentation wise, I didn't think they did a very good job at all. Obviously you have the normal ESPN style like scoreboard thing that runs along the bottom now. Like, this man has been, this many people eliminated, this many people still active, and just reminds you that no one actually has to pay attention to fucking anything anymore.
Nope. They will spoon feed it to you.
Yeah.
Because you are stupid and they think you're stupid.
It comes up at the bottom, it's like Logan Paul eliminated, and it's like some fucking game show from the 90s. Like, there's this. Most people might be used to that by now. To me, it's just like, what is this? I don't understand.
A segment of the audience, forget being used to it, a segment of the audience and the commentariat class think that's how everything should be done in every promotion. That everything should be spoon-fed to you, and that anyone who has to do any thinking, that's just too much for them. They shouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I'd rather not be treated like I'm dumb. Don't know if that's just me. But there we are. That's what they do. And so in terms of their overall presentation, all the issues that exist with their PLE presentation still exist. It's still very much over-commercialised. It's still very much, everything takes too long. There's not many things on the show. There's something like this with 2 Rumbles. I can live with it, I guess, being a short card. The middle matches, so we'll talk about AJ in a second, I think, but they had the Drew McIntyre Sami Zayn thing. They might as well made Sami Zayn look like the biggest jobber alive. It was like watching Brock Lesnar hardcore Holly, quite frankly. In fact, Holly might have got more offense than what Sami Zayn did. And then, so I get it, because, they want to give Drew, like, a strong win, but, like, man, what they have with Sami Zayn, what they could have had, like, what you've done with him, it's a colossal failure, and pretty much summed up what they did there. We'll start with the men's and women's Rumble matches, though. So they're kind of... There was a time where these matches were really well put together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they had many things that we used to break into other programs and that sort of thing, or they'd have interesting little things. Or even like, they do something like... They play off to the hardcore elements in the crowd first. So, you start the match with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan or something, or Bryan and Ziggler or whoever, like that. And then you do your big stars, and you'd have these big return pops, and you'd have these big surprises. And just like everything in this kind of period where everything's just about consumption without actually having any quality, because we don't really need to, because we're on these long contracts now. It was like, it just felt like there was none of that. So you had all the basic points that maybe they aim for, right? So you had some debuts. So you had, 2 guys from AAA, and not the one under WWE contract, which is interesting. So they had Mr. Iguana and La Parka. Mr. Iguana is now the bigger star than La Parka, which is just going to throw my brain forever, I think, in WWE world. Didn't have Vikingo, who is the contracted guy. They had the debut of Royce Keys, former Powerhouse Hobbs.
You can't make fun of the name because it's his kid and his mom, so don't be a meanie. Don't be a meanie and say anything mean about the name, even though it sucks. It's about his kid and his mom. I mean, come on, give me a fucking break.
It's very cute. Look, it's very sentimental, but the name is still doesn't sound like anybody that you would take seriously.
I'm judging the people who are going to be like, somebody leaked that to fucking... yeah, so that they wouldn't have to deal. So I just, come on, like, just accept criticism. Just accept it. It's a shitty name.
Yeah, so they did that. Return wise, they brought back Brie Bella, which was the most over person in the whole Women's Royal Rumble, which probably says a lot about that. Did they bring anybody back in the Men's Rumble of any significance?
I don't think so. She had Gable, but he apparently came out to nothing.
Well, yeah, he's doing the original Grande Americano gimmick, so they'll feud him and Ludwig Kaiser one. So that's whatever. But it was like, it didn't feel like it had any energy whatsoever. It was just 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the next guy, and then the next one, and then the next guy, and then the next one. And there's just no energy to it. There was nothing, like, and then they did, obviously, they're going to do the Braun Breaker thing, right? So as soon as he went in earlier, I was like, okay, he's not winning. Because it's like, there's no way they're going to have him outlast, like, all these people with hits like cardio. We've seen enough of that this year.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, we're going to do the thing in the hoodie, and we're going to pretend it's Rollins, and da-da, done, okay. And it was just like, well, okay, opening minutes, and then nothing happens. And then nothing happens. And then nothing happens of any significance. And then they do the thing, you know, and you think, oh, Oba Hefemi, and they go do the thing with Lesnar, and then that doesn't even turn out to be anything massive, really. And it's like, there's nothing to these things now. There's nothing that energizes people or goes, actually, I want to see this and that. And then they do the thing with Cody and Drew, and you think, okay, yeah, you can set that up, and potentially you're going to do that at the Elimination Chamber, you're going to do that at WrestleMania. But it's like, you've been doing that for 7 months, you know? So the thing with the Rumble is it used to be kind of a direction towards WrestleMania that would actually, like, make some good directions. You think of, like, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels and that sort of thing. And now it's just a thing. It's just a thing where they have the format, you know, everyone comes out, and it doesn't mean very much. And maybe, you know, having the presence of the Chamber in the way that they did that last year, and the way that Rumble winners have kind of been downgraded significantly the last few years. Puts a play in that. But I just thought there's nothing here that creates any sort of additional interest. And to me, that includes Roman Reigns winning the Men's Rumble. And, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because there's been so much talk about Roman this week. Oh, his contract's up in May 26th.
He's unhappy. They don't want to pay him.
Yep. And then he goes on Pat McAfee. Right? And he goes on Pat McAfee and he does the
big headlining
you've got the quote,
moment, right? He has, this is the quote he did on the show. This was his big headlining moment. We are here 2 years now. We haven't advanced. We haven't evolved. We have great leadership. Nick Khan, God bless him. What a businessman. He's a genius, but we have to be able to keep up creatively. And that's why people like me, people who are striving to be the greatest, the GOATs, the MJs, I just can't sit around and see mediocrity. Not when I set it up for everybody to just slam it home. So, of course, people went nuts over these quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's leaving. Oh, he's unhappy. Da-da-da-da-da. This stinks of a work, Trish.
Yeah, and as soon as, like, I watched the whole thing and I was like, oh, he's working. And I think I said so I guys on Friday night, I was like, he's winning the Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, I can see where this is going now. Because they love this sort of shit.
Oh,
now.
it's their biggest. They love this shit.
It's been 3 years now of doing this, right? The first year, okay, was a fuck up, right? They didn't plan for the reaction to Rock to be what it was. But then they worked it straight into the work shit, right?
Yep.
Last year, same thing. You know, they did the thing with the heel turn and that sort of thing, and all-powerful Rock, and then yet they played into the tension of, like, Triple H and Rock, and you look at this, right? So what he's saying is, you know, we haven't pushed anyone, we haven't got anyone back, but actually, it's just like, yeah, you need me to come in and save you. He did. I think he said that on, like, a social media thing they did as well. Like, they begged me to come back to save them, sort of thing. And you can see where this is going. Will it make Triple H look like a fucking idiot in the build? Yes. Do they actually care? No.
No.
And then it's like, okay, so then what do you do? So I wasn't surprised that he won. As soon as I saw these comments, I thought, okay, he's coming back and winning. Were they going to push anybody new? I didn't think so in Saudi Arabia. I look at it and I thought, who would the Saudis want to win? They want a name, right? It's the first one in Saudi Arabia. For the men's side, which is the side that they value more, which is why it closed the show, I thought they're going to want a top name to win, and there isn't any.
No.
So it was like, I looked at it and I thought, what is it, Roman or Seth? You know, is Seth ready to come back? Obviously not, but it's like, is it Roman or Seth? And I thought, looking at this on Friday night, I thought, it makes all the sense for them to go with Roman, from that perspective. Does it make sense in terms of building anybody or creating a new intrigue? No, but that's not what they want. And they'd rather work this kind of work-shoot stuff, which makes the company look weak, which is never a good thing, and we've been over this a million fucking times. But it's like, they'd do that. And then you could see it. Okay, so you could do the thing where Drew, loses to Cody and you still run the Cody match. Or he can face Punk and they can do the promo where he's like, where Punk's like, oh, I've had to pick up the ball because you've not been around and been back and forth. And then Roman's like, well, you're only here because you got pissed off by a cowboy and a jungle man or whatever the fuck. Oh, you left and you had the ball and then I got booed and it was partly because of you and all this shit. And I can see it now, like the work shoot stuff and all that stuff, and everyone will be like, ooh, ah, ooh, ah.
Or the audience won't respond at all, because you've seen with some of the work shoot stuff with AEW, their audience doesn't seem to care.
Yeah, and people will be like, oh, Punk will eat him up, and actually what will happen is Roman will eat his dinner because Roman has more power. So it's like, oh, great, yeah. And then what do you get out of it afterwards? You're going to damage both of those baby faces. Roman, who's never been taken advantage of in terms of his babyface return, like when he turned, they did fuck all with that. He's right on that, if he wants to be annoyed about that. But I don't think he helps himself either. And then what do you got? You're still playing with the same people in the same spots. And if you do like Cody, Drew, and Fatu, nothing changes there either. Well done. That's another year. And maybe it doesn't mean anything because you've got 3, Saudi Arabia shows this year. You're doing the double night SummerSlam and maybe you build that around the Lesnar retirement. And, you've got all these TV contracts kind of sewn up, but maybe not as astute as you thought you were, which we'll talk about later. But it's like, there's nothing. What have you got that you... And the other side, like Liv Morgan, okay, you're putting someone new in that spot, but... Are you going to treat her like the star? See it. It's still Rhea, isn't it? And, Becky, that's another one as well. The Becky return, since she returned at WrestleMania in the heel run, has not worked.
No.
All right, and then they're going to do that on AJ Lee, and that's another one where you just, it's a nostalgia match.
Yep.
Part-timer, whatever. But it's not worked. It's a sentiment to not putting people in heel roles that people don't want to boo, but also especially straight away after returning, and then rather than getting someone over like Lyra Valkyria, which she obviously aimed to do, they've ended up kind of getting no one over and making Becky look like a much weaker star he was. The other thing I thought about the finish though was I thought this was quite funny, right? Because they had so the last 2 were Reigns and Gunther, and the finish is basically like, they don't even do like a really long set of exchanges. It gets starts in the middle. He does his ooh-ah once Gunther's down, one spear, and then he just throws him out like, bye, like straight over the top, like, hey, thanks for coming. And it's like, right, so you gave Gunther the win over John Cena, right, in his last match, and you said this was going to be big elevation for him, it's worth it, the way they did the finish, because it'll elevate Gunther. And then you give him early in the night the retirement, quote unquote, over AJ Styles. And you say, oh, this, it elevates him because we've made him into like an Undertaker style character because he's doing all these things. And then you just toss him out just at the end, just like normal. And he's still on the same level he always was. And it wasn't worth it because he's not Roman Reigns' level. So off you go. Bye. One spear. Off you go. And it's like, don't fucking tell me that they've elevated this guy. Don't tell me that he's worth anything more than he was when he's still that upper mid-carder that puts over the main eventers. It's like, I don't understand why he was in there. I don't get it. I do not understand why you put him in that spot if you were trying to build him up to being some sort of Undertaker streak-style guy, retirement guy. When you just go, oh no, he was slightly in, he was hurt coming in because of that. No one fucking cares. He's still that guy that will put over those guys at the end. Well done. Do we need 6 months for that still, by the way? Or can we talk about it yet?
I'm counting down. I'm counting fucking down.
Good.
We have to wait the 6 months, the 6 full fucking months before we can discuss whether that retirement was any good. 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, but that fucking worked, didn't it? Because he's still in the same spot. So he's still the guy that needs to put somewhere, because you haven't got anyone else to fucking do that, because you've not even elevated anybody into that position. So yeah, this was the Stagnation Royal Rumble. It pretty much showed exactly where they were. They didn't go with a gimmick winner this year like last year, but they didn't do anything interesting.
But people were like, I mean, from a, like I said, I didn't watch it, but like looking at the online response, I didn't see anybody being like, oh my God, this spot was cool. Like usually, at least in the Rumble, you see, clips of like, this was great, this was awesome. Almost everything I saw was people making fun of stuff like Rusev or yeeting or whatever. And then, even the casual fans in casual fan spaces didn't seem particularly excited by it. A lot of boring, a lot of this wasn't interesting, this was predictable.
Yep. And even like, you look at, so even a debut. So they debuted Royce Keys. Will Hobbs. I'm not calling him that yet.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
This is like Twitter all over again. I'm not doing it. But they debuted him, and it was like, okay, he gets a couple of eliminations, stands around for 10 minutes, goes out in a completely ineffective way, not really building too much. Maybe they'll put him in teams with Punk against the Vision. He has a little moment with Cody, but it was like, there's just no energy to it. And then there wasn't anything else for people to talk about. There was no Chris Jericho. No, that's a talking point. Obviously, he's still on the AEW roster page, so he's still under contract, whichever way that's going. We'll see, probably more in the next few weeks. Again, I've still not seen anything really that said that he's going anywhere, to me. And maybe you I know people looked at the cruise, and they looked at the fact that, WWE teased it with their Netflix debut, with the Stranger Things thing that pretended wasn't about Jericho, and they used to break the walls down line, whatever. But, I don't know. Until we actually see anything that makes me, I don't know. I don't think so yet.
I agree with you on that one. I'm not, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, last week, whenever it was. And I genuinely think it could go either way. But like you, I haven't seen anything that has really said, oh, it's definitely happening one way or the other right now. That doesn't mean, like you said, that it can't change in a week or 2 weeks or something where it comes out and it's like, okay, no, he's definitely going to WWE or he's definitely staying. And I wouldn't be surprised if, we're in a situation where the people at WWE don't know and they're kind of hedging their bets by putting stuff down just in case, because of the way they play this shit. So, I don't know.
I think, you can do that either way, can't you, if you're him as well?
Sure.
Because there is value in AEW keeping him. I know there's lots of people think there isn't, but there is. There's value in terms of him as a media commodity. He has good crossover, good relationship with networks and different things. But there's also value in terms of you're keeping someone that's a foundation of your company, that's someone that mentors talent behind the scenes, who knows where his place should be for the majority compared to others that come in.
Yes.
And you also don't want to be handing anything in terms of rating or anything else to WWE right now. Why would you do that? So there are many benefits to them to keeping him, probably more than what people think. And there are benefits to WWE for picking him up, just because, it's an easy, quick win, quite frankly. And it plays into that nostalgia thing and wanting those moments. And, and the way he promos, it'll be very much things they can cut up on social media and will go on TikToks and all that shit. So it's like, he still holds more cards than I think people think he does. But it's like, you can go either way. And there are benefits to either company in him picking him up, even at this age,
Yes.
But the fact that they had no surprise, even especially considering that ESPN kind of did teaser of, this could be a potential surprise. How do you let your kind of media partner do that if you're not going to deliver? But then, Triple H loves to talk about surprises, and he loves to talk about, it's another new era, by the way, where it's another new era. Yeah, I heard
we're on the 15th one of this. But that's part of it too, Trish. I mean, he again said the Rumble would be full of surprises, and the surprises for the Rumble were the things that weren't there. Right? I don't think anybody was shocked to see Obafemi or, Royce Keys in the Rumble. I think people expected somebody like Jericho. I think they expected somebody like Evil or other, people. And it just, there was nothing. The other thing I thought was fascinating about it from this is their second biggest show of the year, right?
Yep.
This is one of their big tentpole shows. This is the first time they've done one of those shows in Saudi Arabia. It's certainly something you could look at and say, hey, are there concerns about what's going on with WrestleMania? The conversation about it never really touched on that at all. Like people reviewing it or discussing it, it was kind of sort of like, yeah, no, it wasn't that great. It was kind of boring. But how do you whiff this badly on the second biggest show of the year and the first one you're doing in Saudi Arabia? It wasn't good. And for people to say, oh no, it's, I don't know. I guess that's kind of always why I'm surprised at the tone of the conversation where you're again, if AEW had whiffed that badly on a big show, it would have been all over the place. So I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting too much.
I think maybe sometimes when it comes to people that watch regularly, a lot of the people that watch AEW or New Japan for that aspect, we are probably harsher critics because we expect more.
Yeah.
Whereas with WWE, a lot of the people that they expect very few, and they're willing to hand wave things a lot more. Whereas we just will actually say, if something's not good, it's not good.
No.
And that's harder for the promotions that have kind of the more kind of the audience that wants more. But then again, that's the audience that you create, right? So it's because they don't want to watch whatever this is when it comes to WWE, which is just your very paint by numbers. And that will appeal to some people, I'm sure. And especially because of the way they do it, and it's built around the pops and all that sort of stuff, although I didn't think there was massive amounts of sustained pops throughout the night, I guess. But it's like, it's built around moments, but are they... So if it's built around moments, are they delivering moments? I think is kind of an interesting question. And then it's like, we get into this... Because you look at this one now, and then you really are into a gap, right? So if they do, I don't know, say we do Drew Cody, night one, I don't know, Punk Roman, or the other way around, you know, I think when you look at Roman's promos, they're still very much aimed at Cody. The whole, like, you know, no one's taken the ball sort of thing. It's like, well, this has been Cody's era, right? So it's not CM Punk's era. So that's kind of interesting in that way. But once you've done that, it's like, what do you have left to do? And next year's a Saudi Rumble, so you can bring in, I'm sure they'll try and get The Rock, or try and get Stone Cold, or whatever. But it's like, what do you have left? Like, what is behind this now? Like, in a way, it's funny because they're using it as a shoot thing with the Roman thing and whatever. But it's a very real problem that they've got. And actually putting a light on it is probably not what I would do. Especially when you're going back to Roman Reigns. It's like, why would you put a light on this now?
It is fascinating because we've talked about the elevation issues in AEW and breaking through to the main event there, but they're in worse shape in WWE. Like, I don't think you could look at... I mean, the biggest person that they've managed to put over recently or elevate to the main event recently is Cody Rhodes, and I think there's a really strong argument that that was Vince and not Triple H. So
he didn't even get elevated. He's like the Ospreay equivalent, isn't he? He came in at the top.
Right, he came in at the top. So, like, who have you taken from... who has Triple H taken... and gotten to a point where they are, like you said, someone that they could rely on and depend. There's nobody. No,
they have the upper mid-carder like Gunther, right?
Yep. Or
so
you could argue LA Knight. Sure, you could argue that.
But that's the limit. That's the thing. They're still not breaking through. And it's... you talked about it with Jesse on the Gentleman's Wrestling podcast, and he brought up Brandon Thurston saying that these companies don't really want to move on from these top guys because they're the people that the networks know, they're the people that the advertisers know, and they just want to keep that sustained thing. But it's like, we all know that stagnation is what kills you, right? And even in this era where you feel like you have more guaranteed spots, it's like your value can change quite quickly if you're not careful. And I think, when we look at the rating situation, there's something to be said about that. And they obviously noticed that because they wouldn't be doing, as much as there's politically mindedness behind the title changes and that sort of thing, you also wouldn't be doing the title change as in, like, flipping the belts around on a SmackDown if you didn't think there was some sort of value to it numbers-wise, or you needed to do it, right? So it's an interesting one. What I also thought was... interesting though was the amount of people that were missing from these shows.
Oh yeah. Big list of folks who weren't on this Rumble. The one of whom was the focus of the go home angle for Raw last week for this pay-per-view, which was fucking hilarious. They didn't even have an angle based around that. There was nothing about that on the fucking show. Finn Balor had a whole go home angle where he beat up was it Drew McIntyre? He beat up CM Punk and somebody else. But I thought he beat up two people. It beat up Finn Balor and somebody else because Finn Balor couldn't get a spot on the Royal Rumble because I don't remember why. I think it was like an attendance issue or something.
So he can't get a spot, but La Parka can.
La Parka can. The fucking iguana got a spot.
Hey, no. Look. Okay.
I'm not talking about the dude. I'm talking about the puppet.
No. We're not slating iguana. I don't care what the fuck WWE do. We're not slating iguana. No.
I'm just saying.
Banned from the Trish and Sarah Wrestling podcast for slating
iguana. No iguana, whatever. The freaking Rusev got a spot and Finn Balor couldn't get one. It just was. It was again a thing where you didn't need to watch the television for the Rumble to make any sense.
Yeah.
Because that, or vice versa, because that angle had nothing to do with the show.
What was that big match last week? The AJ Nakamura one?
Yep.
Nakamura wasn't in it?
Nope.
Their Unreal thing, they had a whole episode about re-signing Truth and his value. Truth wasn't in it.
Yep.
Their signings from last year, the whole group behind Solo Sikoa, the Samoans and, JC Mateo, they weren't in it.
JC Mateo.
I actually had to write out Mateo so I didn't say Jeff Cobb.
JC Mateo. Ricky Saints.
JC Mateo sounds like a Sabutio player to me. Or something off something like that. Anyway, none of the other New Day guys are in it. None of the Wyatts, including Nikki, were in it. Vikingo, as we mentioned earlier. Johnny Gargano, who was on SmackDown before, in front of the empty crowd. Aleister Black.
Yes, but apparently they flew him out there and then decided they did, which cracked me up because I'm like, did they decide, or is he doesn't even want to take a loss in the fucking Royal Rumble?
I thought Rusev was the one that had the problem with the Rumble in AEW, right? He didn't want to do the hangman while we were thrown over the top rope at the Grand Slam. So it's kind of funny that it was us. But yeah, but Rusev was pretty much squashed in and out, you know, just like a Santino or a comedy jobber of any sort. I thought it was kind of interesting because I know Penta was in there late on, but yeah, he went in late on and kind of didn't do very much. But there is something to be said of, you know, if Roman like squashes Punk, right? Well, not squashes, you know, but does Roman things with Punk.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the last of the people from AEW that they've basically found a way to kind of completely run over by that point?
Because I don't see. They basically, like you said, I don't see how you can look at the people who swapped, with the exception of Punk, who have swapped spaces and say that any of them are in a better spot than they were.
Well, Cody's in a better spot. Even with the fuck-ups they've made of him.
But Cody's like, I think of Cody as a Vince acquisition, and I think of Cody as being early that he doesn't count. Whereas you have all these people who were like, you know, the quote-unquote contract tampering and all the stuff that happened around All Out 2022, where you end up in a situation where it's like, they're desperate to go back, they're desperate to go back, they're desperate to go back. What have we done with them? You know, Ray Phoenix, like now Ray Phoenix may be perfectly happy to be in WWE, and this may be what he wanted, but you certainly can't look at how he was presented in AEW and say he's being presented better in WWE. You can't say that about Malachi Black. You can't say that about Rusev. Penta, maybe you could say it's the same. But like
same as towards the end. It's probably slightly better than what it was towards the end. You know, there's a difference between what the Lucha Brothers did the first few years and what they did the last year. So,
but but it's kind of nuts to you know, I mean, it's just kind of nuts to me that, like, again, you're in a situation where, and I think we're going to talk about this later, but if you compare, now this is where, if you compare the debut of Royce Keys with Tommaso Ciampa in AEW this week, now one of them was before a really big audience, absolutely, but like one of them got a huge reception where people were like crazy happy to see him, and the other one kind of came out to sort of like, meh. You know, like, good for you. And it's like, well, what do you want? And I mean, then you look at people like Ricky Starks and Blake Monroe, who like were desperate to go to WWE, and they're stuck in NXT doing fucking nothing.
Oh, like they gave up their own leverage.
Right.
That was daft, to be honest.
Nobody would. I think the only person you could look at and say is doing significantly better is probably Ethan Page in terms of like, you know, he's got a strong role on NXT. He's being pushed in a different way over there. Like, you know, but he's still on their developmental brand. He hasn't made it to the main roster. And, you know, I don't know. I just think that if you are like taking a Cody moment right now, and I think there is an opportunity there because like we've talked about, there's a giant fucking hole at the top of WWE's main event where they're going to need some fucking fresh people. But they've not given you any indication that they're going to push anybody, right? They just don't seem to be interested in it. And it's just like, is it the creative team? Is it Triple H? Like, what is it about these guys that they just don't want to do something new? Is it TKO? Like, it's just fascinating to watch it because they're getting to like you've talked about, like next year, where are they? We're in a New Japan type situation here. Like the cupboards are running bare.
And you can get away with it for like this year. You know, they're looking at, as I said, 3 Saudi shows, right? They're doing a number of international shows. The US shows are going to be limited. So they're doing Backlash in Tampa, which is no surprise because they ran the Saturday Night's Main Event paid weekend with Raw and was supposed to be NXT, but NXT got cancelled for week sales. So it was no surprise that they picked up one of the weaker PLEs to run in the US. But then, you know, they're going to run probably something in the summer here. It looks like, you know, I know the guy from Sports Illustrated was putting out the story that they've talked about Cardiff. And that would make sense because the Money in the Bank date in New Orleans got moved back 2 weeks, so it wasn't opposed to All In. At the time, we wondered if they were running away, and actually it probably makes more sense that they shove something else in that summer to try and cat and mouse with All In, and maybe that's the reason why they haven't got tickets on sale for that show.
Yeah, it does feel like there's a big game of chicken going on.
Yeah, that absolutely feels like chicken.
And the ticket sales for All In.
Yeah, and we probably, like, undermine, like, kind of didn't kind of cast an eye enough on when they moved Money in the Bank away from All In Weekend. You probably thought, oh, because it was straight after All Out, right? So everyone kind of thought, oh, it's a reaction to them kind of getting pasted when they trying to kill him or put in WrestlePalooza against him, and then it backfired massively. But it's probably way more likely that they've now got something that they want to counter Wembley Stadium with this year, and that's kind of one of the reasons that there's this cat and mouse game seemingly going on. But it's like, so they have that one. And then they have the 2-night SummerSlam in Minnesota, which is going to need, you maybe need more than Brock Lesnar's retirement, but you're hoping in a way that and Vegas, another 2-night Vegas show, and you're hoping no WrestleMania next year drives these sales into these shows. Vegas one is interesting as well because, I've been speaking to people even that I work with are going that week mainly because it's really fucking cheap. This is not the Grand Prix in terms of raising hotel ticket prices for that show. It's literally like we need people in there. It tells you more about Vegas.
Vegas is in bad shape right now the United States is in bad shape right now and deserves to be from a tourist perspective. But...
Well, they're talking, the guys that we know that are going are talking a grand for a week, including flights from the UK. That's nothing.
That's insane. It's
insane. That's for the WrestleMania week. So that tells you kind of the pricing. But their whole thing is you want as many people to go to these big shows as possible, and you wonder how that sustains. Because I look at, especially Minnesota, like New York's a completely different animal for SummerSlam, right? But you look at Minnesota and you think, what the fuck can you put on there that's going to get 40,000 people through the door each, or 50,000 people through each night? Like one night, okay, you maybe, but like 2 nights, and then you think, okay, so what if they got past that? So it's like you're becoming this year reliant on the free Saudi cards, but then you look at next year and you think, it can't all just be about that. Like, there has to be at some point the sustainable thing. And that's where it's funny because the Roman comments are so close to the mark.
Yes.
And they'll use that and think they can twist that and make it a story and whatever. But you don't make a story if you just use the same guys each time. If no one comes elevated out of this, then you don't make a story. If this is Roman going, oh, I need to hold the belt and then I can elevate someone, it's like, okay, well, what happened last time? Because you're saying what happened last time was a failure now. You're actually undermining your own actions. So it's kind of fucking bizarre. But when it comes to the AEW people, it's like, yeah, it makes no fucking sense on a second level as well, because next year is a big year for their contracts. Most of their main people are up next year for renewal, or towards the end of next year into start of 2028, and that also coincides with the time when WBD have got to decide whether to pick up their option year.
Yep.
And that's the sort of thing they normally aim at, right? We've seen that so much in the past. So it's like, you want to be advertising this as a place for these people to go, because you can see that, Tony is very much checkbook open again this year.
Yeah.
Even offers, there's lots been made of the offer that he made to Hobbs, but there's pretty much a guarantee that if AJ Styles wanted to go there would be big money on offer for him. There is more in play for people from New Japan this year. You saw Clark Connors on TV last night. That's not a surprise. That's where he wants to go. And that makes sense, At the end of the day, long-distance relationships, that's a fucking shit thing to have to live with. So if you can do things that help you for your life outside of wrestling, then fair play. Because there is more to being a wrestler than just being a wrestler. Gabe Kidd will go there in some capacity, we're pretty sure. They're going to make an offer for Finlay, which is interesting. So you're going to have 2 offers potentially for Finlay. So there's very much, and we've seen it, obviously they picked up the Rascals. They've picked up a couple of independent names with like Alec Price. So they're kind of going for everybody. And that means, and obviously Ciampa coming in. So when you have all those sort of people coming in, again, that's where you've got such a large roster to start with, you can't please everybody. So this is the time is to play to people. It is to try and get somebody to come out and say, especially one of their top kind of, 10, 12 on either side, men's, women's, and be like, we can offer you this position. Look what we did with this person. Look what we've done with that person. Look how we can improve your career. And there is none of that. Like, why would you, if you are one of those people, want to go to WWE right now? Why would you? And you can look at, Rusev and Aleister Black, I don't really kind of put any value in caring about what they do, right? Because they were not really AEW people to start with, in terms of their mindset. That's not me saying, they're old NXT or whatever. It's like, no, in terms of their mindset, they never really wanted to be there. it's like they wanted to be back in WWE, but we weren't there. It's like the old TNA style mentality when people went to TNA. But it's like, when you're taking someone like Jay Cargill, you're taking someone, it's a bad example potentially, but you know what I mean. But you take someone like Blake Monroe, right, who wrestled Tony Storm at Wembley Stadium, who, you know, had what should have been the closing match for Revolution and whatever. Like, there's someone that's main evented, you know, shows and different things and TV. Like, that's the sort of person that you then elevate through, because you need to illustrate to people. Not that everyone has to go through this fucking stupid, you know, like
humiliation ritual.
Of like, you have to make your way in WWE. Yeah, and all that bullshit.
You don't know how to work.
Yeah, that doesn't help anybody. Like, and I know it's TKO, and I know that they're so much more interested in just, you know, you just pull as many things out of there as you can, as long as you retain the main assets, you're not really bothered. And it's all about the brand and how much we can monetize it, and that matters far more than what the product is. But wrestling isn't that sort of product. You can't just get away with just keep pulling people out and pulling them and keep the same amount of interest, because that's never fucking happened ever. It's like...
it does make you question. There's been a lot of reports that people in WWE actually believe in this whole, like, not maybe the wrestlers, but like at the office level, that they're really into this whole WWE versus AEW thing, and they shit all over AEW. And you can see some of that, you know, out there in the wild. But it makes you wonder if that kind of stuff has hurt their ability to be competitive, because they won't take people and put them in big spots. They won't.
But this is just it's repeating exactly what they did in 2001, 2002 with WCW. It's exactly the same shit. And what happened? Their business went down.
Trish, you can't expect these people to learn from mistakes. That's not something that, like, adult men businessmen do.
It's the same fucking shit. You brought everybody in and you squash them. You make them look like fucking idiots. You can bring Goldberg in, and he should be, you know, perfect for a WWE mega push, right? Even broken down, like, he's exactly the sort of thing. No, we'll just beat him to fucking, like, Triple H will come in and just beat him, and he'll beat him, and he'll beat him, and he'll beat him in the Elimination Chamber, and eventually he'll get, like, a little win, but it don't mean fuck all, because we've beaten him, and we've beaten him, we've beaten him. We took someone that maybe could have done something for business in the short term while we were bringing other people through, considering that we lost The Rock, and we lost Stone Cold, and we lost everyone else, and Triple H has beaten any fucking babyface that could have had a fucking chance. And not just beating them, he's humiliated them, and they've had fucking, you know, Katie Vick drama, and they've had racist angles at WrestleMania, and he fucking won!
Trish,
but we need to forget all that, because eventually he made Batista, right? And they had like 6 good months of business from going down from, like, you know.
They're really hot right now, okay? They're really hot right now. 700,000 people were in the queue for that Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no one was fucking there!
Really hot though, but 700,000 people were in the queue, so it sold really well.
Well, they fucking British. Oh, fuck me. But no, look, the point is that you have historical example of not making the most out of these sort of acquisitions. You want to make these acquisitions because they're quick wins. They're people that have been, you know that you'll have people that can help you draw ratings. It can help with your numbers. It can help with your media relations. And instead of doing that, we're just gonna, like, do this humiliation thing because we're WWE and you need to do this and do that. It's not gonna fucking get you... I'm gonna pull names out of a hat here. Everyone's gonna get mad at me or think we know something, but I'm just pulling names out of a hat, okay? It's not gonna get you an MJF. It's not gonna get you an Adam Page. It's not gonna get you a Kenny Omega. It's not gonna get you a... I don't know, fucking pick someone. It's not gonna get you any of those people.
Kyle Fletcher.
Kyle Fletcher, yeah, thank you.
Or Will Ospreay.
Or any of those people, or an Okada. You know, like, why would it get you any of those people? It's fucking not going to, because you're not putting any effort into the people that you did get. And it's like, that's so counterproductive in terms of a wrestling war. It almost sounds like I'm trying to wake them up to, like, do you want to have a fucking war or not? But it's like, it's so funny that in a way, we've gone from a year ago where they were so fucking arrogant around the Royal Rumble weekend. Arrogant.
Yep.
And now this year, we're now doing a story about how they're not fucking doing enough.
How their creative is terrible.
Yeah, like in a year, we're doing a story. So we've gone from a year ago of we're the fucking awesome and we've got this and we've got that and fuck you and you can't touch us and we're on Netflix and, you know, like, and it's going to change the world because it's like Americana to the world and all this shit. And then a year later, it's like, the story is Roman comes back because everyone else has failed, and I've given the ball to everyone else, and they've all failed, and creative sucks, and Nick Khan's great at being a businessman, but Triple H sucks. That's basically the undercurrent, right? Like, what? What has gotten into, like,
Look,
your mind?
we're going to work the smarks, and this is going to be great for Unreal Season 3. Okay, Trish?
Yeah, because Unreal Season 2 did great, and Unreal Season 2 was great, wasn't it? Did you watch Unreal Season 2?
No, fuck, I'm not watching that shit.
Oh, I'm fucking sad. I did fucking watch it, right?
You're a better person than me.
No, I don't know. And there's a brilliant thing in it where Triple H is doing his, like, proper lying, where he's also like, we never fired our truth.
Oh, I saw that clip. That was a level of...
And it's so funny, because it's like, well, technically, yeah, you didn't fire him. You told him that you weren't going to renew his contract, right? And then, obviously, he thought he'd been released, he put the thing out, and then you brought him back, and it's like, but then you go on about, oh, you know, we agreed a deal, and it's just like, what do you get out of this? What do you get out of being, like, a lying bastard? I don't know. But it was like, I watched the thing, and I was just like, this is boring. And the people that came across most are the people that they care least about, which is quite funny. But I'll come back to I've got a point for later for that on our discussion, so I don't want to touch that yet. But, fucking shit. Anyway, right, no surprises, no elevations, Roman wins, as we said. As soon as that come back, they're going to do some work shoot bullshit. CM Punk's probably going to get rolled over, which will be kind of funny, but also kind of not, because, like, what's the fucking point?
Him versus Roman is going to be something that I would want to watch just for the terrible wrestling that it's going to be, because that's going to be a nightmare of a match.
Well, they just do finishes now. In these matches, they just do finishes. Cody does it all the time now. Like,
pant heavily and like talk to the. There'll be a lot of talking to the camera.
Wow, you weren't gonna be in the Shield. I was gonna have someone else in the Shield. I can.
Oh, Shield lore, yay!
Oh yeah, you'll do that. Yeah, you'll do that. Obviously, awesome. And Seth, you only got champion because Seth got hurt, and and Seth Rollins no. But come on, you name it now, no. But the whole you shouldn't have been in the Shield, and you were my boy, and then you didn't get it took you 6 years to become something, which is very funny when he's talking about elevation reigns, and it's just like, because they completely fucked your elevation for years and years and years, didn't they? No evil, but there will be an evil. It's not sinister, by the way. That was a fake.
That was a joke, but that was pretty good.
That was a good one.
Whoever did it is fucking genius.
So that's kind of a funny story in a way, because, like, it makes sense in a way. Again, we just talked about long distance relationship. We talk about Fekler and Clark Connors. And so he normally takes off time this time of year. So actually, it's a point where when he said goodbye to everybody after the show, some of the wrestlers actually thought he was just going on his vacation, because they're so used to him saying, like, the goodbye before the long vacation. They didn't realise he was actually leaving. Just kind of funny. Men. But I mean, that's an interesting one, because he has been in important roles in New Japan. Obviously, that's why he had the Aaron Wolf match. He's done some stuff in the dojo. They've got other people that will kind of look after Wolf. Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroki Goto are both very involved with Wolf. See, Tanahashi still has a big hand in him. So, and getting him on the road is the big thing for them with that. But it was a shock in some ways, but then it wasn't, because, it's not. It doesn't hurt anything for him to go at this point.
Yeah.
I know,
he'll be back. They'll take him back. It's clear he's not leaving on bad terms, and that
no, absolutely not. And
he could do a couple years in the U.S. and then go back over there. Like and
he's popular with a section of that audience, that hardcore audience. And
it probably is good for him to deserve a refresh at this point, because I think, like you said, he is popular with a segment of the audience, but I'm sure there are people in Japan who are also sick of House of Torture matches.
I think it just... there'll probably still be House of Torture matches. God knows what a Ren Narita House of Torture live would be like. Maybe you put someone else in there. But the key thing for them is that, with Evil, it's like, he's a limited worker to an extent. But he has enough about... When you look at how they format their matches in WWE and the way they do things and that sort of thing, you can see the heel role that he would go straight into.
Sure.
They could stick him in as, like, leader of the Wyatt Six or whatever, and whatever. It would...
Or some kind of racist gimmick.
We've not had one for a while, so we're probably due. But, you could see what they would do with him there. I don't really see any kind of... I don't have a great feeling about it. There's a lot of talk around a New Japan kind of exodus, and I think it's a little bit overplayed. Because, like, Gabe is going to come to AEW in some capacity this year. He's already working AEW it's like it's kind of like a dual contract wrestler, not on a dual contract at the current time. You think about it.
He beat up Darby Allin last night.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, so I don't know if you're being sarcastic about that. No.
I enjoy Clark Connors. I think he moves in interesting ways. I'll just say that. And I liked watching him.
Did he bring his tire? I haven't watched Collision. Did he bring his tire?
No, there was no tire.
No tire.
But he did have little boots on, and he had little pants on, and he just beat the shit out of Darby, and then he tried to curse a lot into the to the camera, which they muted, which was very funny because I was like, "You're not in Japan. People understand the language."
Yeah, it's a
can't start screaming
expletives.
Gonna have to mute that, buddy. We're bleeping you. But I thought it was a good match. Clark Connors. It seems like he's wanted to come into AEW for a while. I've been, he's somebody that I felt like they could use in like a lower mid-card way. So I don't have any issues with him being brought in. And he did do the thing with Gabe. The thing with Gabe is so funny though, because I feel like Gabe tried to do a promo where he wasn't shouting. And I was like, did he change his accent?
He does change his accent though.
His accent changed. I feel like he had more of a bruv type Osprey accent the last couple of promos I saw, and then I watched this and I was like, is that different?
Yes, because he's not from fucking London. But he puts the London accent on. Like, it drives me crazy when he does his shouty when he does his shouty promos and he's just like, it's like, he might as well just add bruv to the end of it. Like,
yes! And this, he wasn't brubbing. And I was like, and I literally said to myself, he's not brubbing? And then I was like, you sound insane. You
because when he's shouting, he's like, I'm a fucking madman, bruv. And it's like, you're not from fucking London, you're from Nottingham.
He didn't talk like that in the promo at all. Like, he definitely was not brubbing. And I was like, this is weird. Okay, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Because I was like, am I insane? Does his accent change? No, it has.
No, it does. There's a thing he did in LA, like a TV appearance, where I thought he was doing a complete London accent impression. And it was driving me up the fucking wall. I was like, what are you doing? Stop it. Please stop it. Please stop. It's like when Will Ospreay was overdoing it in his heel run in New Japan as well. And I was just like, this is why British people hate you. Like, at the time, like, it was just like, stop talking like that. Like, that's not how you talk. Like, what are you doing? Is this just for Americans? Like, they don't need this. They're not that thick.
We don't. We're fine without it.
It was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, anyway. But no, like, Gabe, okay, they have an expectation that he will go there, potentially he may still work some New Japan stuff. You never know when people go, a lot of the time they want to concentrate on their new promotion. It makes sense because you want to solidify yourself in a role there, right? So it can be difficult to go back and forth. And then with Hiromu, I've heard talk about him. Hiromu, I expect him to do more Noah stuff this year and to do New Japan stuff. Obviously, he is held back, and there's some debate about whether, he doesn't want to move up to being a heavyweight, or they don't want to pay him, or, there's been times in the past where he has wanted to move up and they've said no. So a lot of that's kind of depends who you speak to at the moment. But it's like, he could go either way, but New Japan are probably never going to run with him as long as, because of the Naito connection, because Naito's not there. They always think that there's a chance that he can go elsewhere. And no one's going to look at him and say that, they've got the most that they should have got out of him. He should have been elevated in 2020 into heavyweight, when he had the Evil match, which is probably Evil's best match in New Japan in recent years, outside of, Aaron Wolf. It's like, that's when you should have done it. You haven't done it. So they'll do what they do there. But what they've been clever with, and, I know they've got kind of creative planned out for until kind of the summer at the moment, until June-ish. And it's like, you put everybody with the Unbound company that you think may or may not make decisions. And then if they do make a decision, you can do a story, if Finlay takes one of the offers that's for him, even if he does, want to look at staying in New Japan, it's like, sometimes if the money is so great, like, you've got to think of your family, haven't you? You've got to make that decision.
You've got to think of your future too. It's not a career you're going to be in long term. No. If you have the opportunity to put some money away, take
absolutely,
it.
Right? So
can't blame anybody for that.
Yeah, no, and at his age, it's like, okay, you may want to stay in New Japan, but if you get offered, like, because you've got both, you're looking like you're going to have offers from WWE and AEW, then, make the best decision that is for you. But they put them all kind of Unbound company, and I think it's kind of interesting they haven't produced any merch for that promotion, for that group yet. It makes sense, because if they make them decisions, then you go around it, If say, for example, Finlay was to choose to go to AEW and you weren't going to get some sort of dual deal, and even if you did, you're not going to get like the 21 weeks of touring that you got out of him last year. So it's like, do something then with him and Suji. You know, like you're angry that he's taken over and he's like got rid of the Bullet Club War Dogs, and like you can do that story on the way out. So you've given yourself far more flex over it this year. Far more control. It doesn't feel anywhere near as out of control as last year, you know, where the Naito thing hit in the middle of, April, and everything went crazy, and then everything else that happened, and then Cobb, it just felt out of control. They felt like you never knew who was leaving next, and this time it's like, okay, people might leave, but we're prepared for it. You know, we know where we're going. Everyone is working, like, tremendously hard at the moment. I think I watched the Korakuen earlier, because I got a message saying, you're going to love this, like, just watch, like, I've never seen people work that hard in 6-mans, and actually having that gaps and the ability to elevate into, and people being able to spot, actually there's opportunities here with this person, you know, with where we are now, that there's no Naito, Tanahashi, Okada, etc. Like, it seems to motivate people, and I think the crowd and that are responding to that. So it's not the end of the world syndrome that it would have been previous years. Sonada's not going anywhere, by the way. He is getting surgery. So, but it is kind of interesting that it feels in some ways that it's kind of weird that a few years ago you were looking at an LIJ dominated company. Yeah. That was pretty much holding the fort while everyone else was kind of leaving. And, you know, and especially from their attendance-wise and merchandise-wise. And now LIJ is, you know, and it's... I guess you can say it lives on through Suji, but Suji's his own guy. You know, he's going to be his own role, his own groups. And you wouldn't necessarily say of him as like a real LIJ guy that people would associate with that branding, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that in just a few short years, what you maybe thought was a promotion that would be the cornerstone of the company are kind of been and gone. But yeah, there's opportunity there for them. Anyway, I've got completely off the WWE topic because I started talking about New Japan. But
speaking of AJ Styles, yeah, I was going to say, do you feel like the AJ Styles retirement, they got as much out of it as they could have? Because it does seem like... question. It does seem like this is, you know, based on some stuff Sean Pollock was saying today, that it appears that he's telling people close to him that he is done. Mm-hmm. That it isn't about him going to another company. Although, like you said, I'm sure AEW will offer him a shit ton of money if they want it. But he's also turned them down 3 times now. Yeah. You know, do you? It was a very brief build for this retirement. Like, it felt like a month essentially. And I think without Nakamura's Instagram post, a lot of people would have believed that this wasn't actually his final match.
Yeah, I think Nakamura being told to take that post down that basically said this is his last one was something that made people question. Maybe more than they would have done. I think they thought there was just going to be some story and it build up to like a bigger retirement, maybe at like WrestleMania or something. It's a strange thing to do. It's kind of funny in some ways, because if this was his last match, it's kind of funny how similar it would be in terms of... It's hard to say lack of profile because it's on the Royal Rumble, right? But it's not like a massively publicized match, and it's kind of similar to how Christopher Daniels went out with Hangman.
A little bit.
Other than that, you know, Daniels picked his opponent. But there's kind of a similarity there. But I know that there are people in WWE that believe he's done and he's going to go into a kind of like a non-wrestling role, right? Yeah. And obviously the way that people got caught by the way that Paul Levesque talked about it last night on the post-show. And then obviously you mentioned Pollock. And Pollock has very good WWE sourcing as well. And you're right, like, you know, you've only got to look at last year and look at Will Ospreay running around doing as many Styles clashes as he could. It was like, you can very much see that like, the beacon was always up from AEW for him. Like,
Ricochet was laying it on Twitter too.
Yeah, and I saw that, and that actually made me think, is he going there? Because like, he wouldn't have the guts. When you say stuff like that, that's normally like preparation because you know somebody's coming in. Yeah. So I did think about that, but he is in the Bryan Danielson camp for me, as in I will believe it when I actually see it. Yeah. Because that was the thing with Bryan Danielson, right? It didn't happen. Eventually it did, but it's like it could have easily gone the other way as well, and that's how he is now. The fact that he was stipulating WWE career and they made a point of that so heavily was pretty interesting. You could have just said entire career and you didn't. So he's left his options on the table, sort of thing. But you can't look at it and think it was like some grand kind of thing. And they wasted it. If you thought there was any value to it, they had Walter get eliminated. Gunther, fucking Walter. Names. Are these
Wally?
names? Stop changing it. Is that yeah. Wally.
Every time I think listening to War is a waste of my time and energy, they drop me with a little Wally. Dave drops a little Wally out there, and I'm like, every time I think I'm out, he pulls me back in.
When I heard it, I kept thinking of that Disney film, the Wall-E film. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
Wall-E.
Yeah, Wall-E. So that's
See,
it now. I'm gonna think about
to
Gunther.
me, it's like Aaron and Aaron. Aaron and Aaron are two different names. Wally and Wally are two different names. We will be on this for hours. We got to go back. Focus.
Yeah, so Gunther.
AJ Styles. Gunther.
Yeah, but, if there was anything to be gained for it, you threw it away by having Gunther be eliminated in the Rumble by Roman and still signifying that he was at that level. So what have you gained from this? I don't really see anything. You didn't it wasn't a draw card, you didn't do anything with it, you did even less with it than what you did for Goldberg.
Goldberg.
Yeah, well, you think they care more about AJ Styles than Goldberg. You needed less for AJ Styles, Doesn't make any sense. You're still laughing about Goldberg for?
I think his name is funny.
Say that.
I just do. It just every once in a while it randomly cracks me up because I think it sounds like Gold Bug from those children's books.
It's a funny one though, but it just. You think about it though, that's what doesn't make any sense to me. So AJ came in, 2016, and you can say, okay, he retired at the Rumble because it was 10 years after he came in at the Rumble, right? You could have made a big thing out of that and stuff, but I don't really feel that they did that either. But it's like, they cared more about him way more than Goldberg. So why was he given so little? And that's where people go, oh, is it work? Because it doesn't make any sense. So you either think he's going
really
elsewhere.
Strange.
Yeah, so you either think he's going elsewhere, or you think you're going to do something else with him. I don't know.
Or they're not confident that he's not going elsewhere. He's telling them that he's not, but they don't believe him.
Well, yeah, because if he's not contracted, then there's nothing to fucking believe. He's a wrestler.
Right. Right. That's true.
Unless you've gotten him to some other deal. If he's, and he's trademarked Phenomenal One, hasn't he, and that sort of thing. Which doesn't
Podcasts are coming. Podcasts are coming.
I don't think you need to trade that for a fucking podcast.
I'm joking.
And can you imagine it? No, we probably shouldn't. But can you imagine it? Podcast? Oh
no! The wrestler community. We got to stop. We can't.
No. But that could go anywhere. He could do. Oh my god! AJ Styles Science Podcast.
Oh my god. So yeah, we don't know what the fuck is going on with AJ Styles.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if he turns up in AEW.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah, but it's it's one of them things. If you do, you've got to get the balance right. That's the thing when you make all these new signings.
I got told he's going back to TNA for a big run. That's clearly obvious.
A big TNA run.
Big TNA run. Clearly going back to TNA for a big run.
Main event against Mr. Elegance.
My man, he signed to a long-term deal, Trish. How long-term, we don't know. Could be 6 weeks. Could be 8 weeks. He signed.
He's got no, that's it now. It's got AJ Styles, Mr. Elegance, Bound for Glory. Get your tickets now.
60-minute Iron Man match.
Get your
60-minute Iron Man match. AJ Styles, Mr. Elegance. First blood. Okay. Oh, Jesus. All right, we got to leave WWE. We've been talking about WWE for a fucking hour. We got to go to something else.
We've got off the rails now. We've
gone off the rails. We've lost our fucking minds.
We're going to talk about AJ Styles, Mr. Elegance.
First blood.
What are we talking about?
Let's talk about ratings.
Oh, God. Numbers? I like numbers.
We love numbers.
Yeah.
We love all numbers. We love big numbers and we love small numbers. We love weird numbers and we love normal numbers. We love bald numbers. We love hairy numbers.
Right, stop it now.
We love male numbers and girl numbers and
It's gone.
non-binary numbers. We also love them too.
We're doing numbers. We're doing serious things. Yeah.
Numbers. All right, so let's talk about ratings, right? So one of the things we want to talk about with ratings is collision weirdness, right? So traditionally, Collision has moved nights when they're going to go up against a WWE pay-per-view or other show. Last month in January, there was a Saturday night's main event that went head-to-head with Collision, and Collision did not move. Collision stayed on Saturday. They did a .02, but it seems clear that they do not want to go head-to-head with TNA on Tuesday nights at this point for some reason. Not that TNA is blowing the roof off the place with their ratings, but they have managed to, at least for the second week, kind of maintain their demo. Although it is worth pointing out, as Brandon Thurston has done, that with a small sample size, you do get a greater opportunity, or with a small number, you get a greater opportunity for mistakes. So it's certainly possible that there's more of an error, a margin of error greater for TNA, just because these numbers are so small. That said, last week, episode 2, they did what, a .03 versus a .04, which they did the first week?
Yeah, they did very similar overall viewership. So
I don't think we got numbers this week for them.
Not yet, no. We won't get that till Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, the torch is having to be taken care of us lately for the viewership numbers, bless them. Thanks, Wade.
But there does seem to be overall a kind of a downward trend for most wrestling shows that have been on television. They have not bounced back in the winter months the way that they usually do.
So it's been interesting because obviously this week NXT and Dynamite have had their biggest numbers since the fall. For viewership, but not for the demo.
The demo essentially stayed the same. I think for Dynamite it went from a .08 to a .09.
Yeah, so
but they were up 150,000 total viewers.
Yeah, so they're still averaging .08 for January so far. So what has happened here? So we haven't really talked about ratings so much since Big Panel and Plus Data came in. So this new Nielsen metric very much helps sporting numbers. So we've seen huge numbers for the NFL, huge numbers for the baseball playoffs, huge numbers for pretty much anything that has a ball that moves, and not so much huge numbers for anything that doesn't have a ball.
We do like balls. Many people like balls.
Okay, you
no matter how weirdly shaped they might be.
You're done now, aren't you? You just, like this is we're venturing into tunnel talk territory. I know tunnel talk is back today, but we are proper.
Yeah, tunnel talk is back today. Thank God. They didn't talk as much about balls as I would have liked, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of Andrade, no, I'm sorry. Just keep going.
Oh no. My spreadsheet doesn't want to open now.
Oh no.
There we go. I got it. Okay. So Big Panel Plus Data came in, and there's a significant change in kind of the way that the metrics are calculated. And when it came in, actually everyone kind of thought that it would benefit pro wrestling because it benefits kind of live sports viewership. There is a slight issue with pro wrestling being classified as entertainment, that if you do not click off it after like 60 minutes, it thinks you've fallen asleep.
Correct.
So that
and
was
it stops
never
counting you as a viewer.
Yes, so that's something that the kind of calculation as being entertainment is not great for pro wrestling, which traditionally has the longer shows. Just, if you look at most entertainment shows, they tend to be between 30 and 60 minutes. Yep. You have the exceptions, obviously something like Survivor will run like 1:15 or things like that. But in general, you're not getting that sort of thing of a 2-hour show or a 3-hour show in terms of SmackDown. But when we had the initial changeover, we actually got... What did you say?
Sorry, I said God 3 hours because...
Oh, we don't have to watch it. We don't have to watch
it. No, but I couldn't imagine watching it for 15 minutes, let alone 3 hours. Jesus, I don't know how people do it and don't end up damaged, but maybe they do, and that's part of the problem.
Just reminds me of me and Tim watching that one from New Orleans, and we got like 2 hours and 15 minutes through The Rock, and then we were like, that's it, I can't do anymore. But anyway, no, so the first 7 weeks, thanks to Brandon First Nova at WrestleNomics, we actually got data from the old Big Panel and the new Big Panel Plus data. And there were kind of percentages where you could work out the difference between the viewership and the demo, the P18 to 49 and the 25 to 54, which is the thing that Tony Khan often spouts for what WBD want to acknowledge. And for those 7 weeks, what they found was Collision was down around 6% in viewership between the two measurements. So the new versus the old. Dynamite was down 9% and SmackDown was down 14% in viewership. And for the demo, Collision was down 2%, Dynamite was down 20%, SmackDown was down 20%, and NXT was down 27%. So NXT's actually been the thing that's been affected the hardest, and that pattern follows very similar for 25-54. Collision down 7%, Dynamite down 19%, SmackDown 18%, and NXT 29%. So the thing that's happened with that this year is, as much as it's substantial, is that the loss rates for most of the programming is, especially in the demo, is way beyond the impact of big data plus panel. So as much as that is killing people, right? We had the SmackDown the other week that did a 0.21 on the new measurement and was a 0.29 on the old measurement. The problem is that last year they did a 0.42. So even when you take out 5% for the loss of homes, there is substantial kind of loss going on. And these make big differences in terms of the value of programming because advertisement rates are generated off the demo. That's why programs are ranked by the demo. And obviously, if you have a lower demo number, you're going to have a lower ranking. So you've gone from, in terms of top entertainment programs of the week, SmackDown being, potentially in the top couple, or even being top, and Dynamite being the top 10, and now you're quite low down each night, You look at a Wednesday night where Dynamite might have been top 5 to top 10, and now you're looking at, it can be top 20 or to top 30. So it's a substantial difference in the value of these products, and especially for wrestling, which already struggles because it has a lower ad rate. And for January, that we've just had, the losses in the demo are much greater than the losses that have impacted from big panel plus data. So if we look at this spreadsheet, hates me today. It's because I built it late. It's just like, nah, I don't like you. Why have you done this? But when you look at this year, for viewership, they've been down 13% against January, 11% against Q1, which is probably within the right margin in terms of being maybe level or that sort of thing. It's hard for Q1, you've got to look at the fact that for AEW and for TNA, this will apply as well, is they will do always much better in January than they will in February and March. January is normally a good bounce back month for them. It's a month with lesser competition. Once you get into February, especially this year, you've got the Olympics coming up. And then you get into March, you've got your March Madness. You'll have shows like Survivor coming back and that sort of thing. They've always had kind of competition more from entertainment after that. WWE works the opposite, so they are lowest in January and for SmackDown, and then they will increase because of the way the WrestleMania schedule is. But yeah, so Dynamite is okay for viewership, but when it comes to the demo, I can't stand up. There we go. They've gone from a 0.17 to a 0.1808 for the quarter and for the month of January, which is a minus of 53%. So if you're looking at the big data plus panel, I can't fucking speak today. Big data plus panel has an impact potentially of 20%, but you're losing 53%. So you're still massively down on the year. And you can look at the impact of potentially on max, but it also means a 0.08, they're actually down on the Q4 numbers of 0.09. And that's probably not what they would expect to do in January, being where they are. So it's one thing to say, okay, they're massively down next year. You've got the impact of data plus panel plus, you've got the impact of, of max, but it's like, maybe you'd want that demo to be higher in this month particularly, considering that you have the extra competition kind of bits for the next couple of months, which will hurt much more. So it's kind of surprised that they've started the year kind of slightly lower. Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes if this week's current rating kind of goes on. They're obviously going to big challenge. The Olympics kicks in next week, Friday next week, so we'll see that. But it's the same. So sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say you can kind of see it in the programming right now because they are throwing everything in the kitchen sink.
Of course they are.
We're having tons of title matches, tons of big matchups on TV, which we don't normally see. Nope. They usually try to save a lot of those.
Yeah, and they're throwing debuts on there as well, and that sort of thing.
Debuts as well, some shock debuts, really everything they can do.
You've got to get the balance of it, because otherwise you end up in a 2022 situation where you've thrown everything at the wall, and people get used to seeing everything thrown at the wall, and then when it's not, and then you get to the summer, and then you maybe bring back the Kenny Omega, and you bring back the CM Punk, and all of a sudden you're doing, you're not doing anywhere close to the numbers that you were doing in the spring.
Right.
But you're running what you think are bigger programs, and you're running John Moxley and CM Punk, and that's the thing. So I know there's a lot of focus on kind of 50 to 54, and there's a lot of focus in terms of 50 plus, but that doesn't always necessarily correlate with what they do in the demo either. That summer of 2022 is a perfect example. So you're doing over 1 million viewers, but you're doing a lot less in the demo because you're focusing on people that will appeal to that older audience, especially people that came from WWE. So there's a balance to be struck. You've got to be really careful with that because you can create like a burnout because you're creating moment after moment, like bang, 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 and then it's like nothing. So you've got to, so obviously the other thing for them is for AEW. So you're down 53% in the demo. For this period, you were down 48% for Q4 with this new model. You've also got to make sure that you beat the Big Bang Theory, and that has not been anywhere near as common in the demo as it was pre this model. So that's a challenge in itself. Collision. I don't know what you do with Collision. Yeah, so they actually, last week when they went up against Saturday's main event, they were actually ahead on viewership where they were last year. But the demos continue to be the same challenge. And the problem for them is that with there, it's what we talked about with TNA. So it's such a low number that you're going to get much more swings and variations. And that's why TNA have actually much more of a chance of staying at the number they are currently than they do of actually dropping to like under 100,000 or, a 0.1 demo, especially because you've got a lead in that's doing maybe like 0.3, 0.4. So you have maybe enough to keep that number above a certain point. So you may see that, their numbers may continue to surprise people, even if we don't really know how they meet, the expectations of that network. Especially, they didn't even put out a press release for the first one, which I thought was ultra surprising. But yeah, so Collision, it's like, I would understand not putting it against TNA as well, because you don't want that comparison, right?
No.
So you would rather die against the Royal Rumble and against Saturday Night's Main Event, which is the first time they've not moved them to Thursday nights for, 7-8 months now?
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's been a huge long time but they do not want that direct head-to-head competition because you're then valuing that product at the same level, aren't you?
You don't want that headline.
Yeah, but if they go out and do, I don't know, TNA does a 0.02 and you do a 0.02 on a Thursday night, well, you can't then talk about how your products compare to, say, SmackDown. You're talking about closing the gap with SmackDown, looking at the demo numbers because you're holding up slightly better than SmackDown is. Like in Q4, you can't then talk about that if you then put that product, your secondary product in Collision against TNA, and they're doing the same demo as TNA because they're, you can look at your network going, this is how much we're paying for Collision, this is how much they're paying for, TNA. If TNA is worth allegedly $10 million a year, and we're quite skeptical of that, and we're paying however, 45 million or whatever the split down was last time round, not even on this contract for Collision, then there's a discrepancy there. But it's one of those things where it's better for people watching it because they are going to throw everything at the wall. But then when you get to, this is the easier part of the time for them to do it in because they've got most of their talent back at the very top and they've got that long run up to Revolution. The challenge becomes is when you start to get into the monthly pay-per-view cycle that comes after that. So then you've got Dynasty, you've got Double or Nothing, you have Forbidden Door before we even get into the run to All In. And it's like, so then you have to make decisions about whether you're going to keep chasing your pay-per-view numbers because that destination programming seems to be, for me, I think it's the future of the way the industry is going. Or, you need to change it week by week because that's your current big monetary income. And you can say they have the roster to do both, but they've not shown a tendency to be able to do that. So, to be nice. So this is a period of time where they're trying to do everything they can. You can see like they're literally throwing as much as they can at the very top in order to do it. And then you've got the debuts and that sort of thing. But it's about getting that balance right. So it's difficult. Yeah. But the key bit about that is, for them, is that the drop in the demo is still greater than a drop in Data Plus panel. And it's, at the moment, they're dropping from Q4, which is maybe a surprise. I guess we see how the rest of this kind of quarter leans out.
I'm sure others would be quick to blame it on the world champion, but I don't think we would be that hasty.
He's not even halfway on TV on there. It's just not point. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later in the months. No, we don't need to, people will blame who and they'll blame this. We don't have quarters. We don't know too much about what's driving it. Look, if you're going to put loads of guys who are draws at the top in big slots for a sustained period of time, you generally do well out of that. it's just what comes next, but we'll see. But their big challenge is you now have this thing where for AEW is you're fighting not only like this change in the system, which is costing you 20% of the demo, you're also looking at having to compete with the Big Bang Theory. You're now ranking, on a Wednesday night behind like Sisters and Guys Grocery Games and things that you were previously beating. So your value compared to your your network is kind of key, because for SmackDown that's doing, where's my SmackDown figures there? SmackDown is a 0.24 for this month. Obviously, don't have this current week's yet, compared to 0.46 for Q1 last year and a 0.44 for January last year. So, as you said, it's the opposite trend to AEW. So, AEW January figures are higher than the rest of the quarter, and the opposite for WWE because of the way they flip. For them, it's like you're looking at and thinking, we're still the number one program on our network. We are still the main thing on our network, and we're still being able to win the night in terms of entertainment or in terms of sometimes cable ratings. So you're still competitive in that way, but that line's getting closer and closer and closer now. So it's like you are still reducing value, and especially in ad spend and these things. So it's this thing at the moment where we have this thing where you can look at maybe some viewership numbers and think, oh, that looks okay, or that looks better, or that sort of thing. But they're not the ones that matter in terms of these companies paying the bills. And that is why I think we're getting a lot more thrown at the wall on TV as of late. And maybe, you'd hope that's better for the audience. You see all these different things, and rather than, you don't want it to get into snap booking. You don't want to get into, NXT 2022, where you throw fucking everything at the wall and then you have to, like, blow it all up and make Art Attack NXT. It's like, you can't get into that. You have to avoid that. You have to have belief in these things. But it's clear that the offset of Big Data Plus panel has influenced them massively, but also they're all losing more than what the impact of that data system is. And they're all going to try and come up with different answers for that, because it affects their kind of value in terms of a TV product. And maybe that changes. Maybe we go to more the pay-per-views and the PLEs and that sort of thing. But I also know, NXT, we still don't have a PLE deal announced for the US.
Nope.
That's still not current. And you can see the numbers that were released from Netflix, that there's not huge international demand for NXT PLEs. 200k for most of them, 100k up against AEW. You're not going to, what numbers are you able to put out there to get yourself a US TV deal with that? Saturday Night's Main Event doesn't have an international deal yet. You can still watch them on YouTube. Even John Cena's retirement wasn't enough to get that on anywhere abroad outside the US. AAA,
still on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not going to...
They got a TV deal for TV.
Yep. And TNA was not put on to CW, who have been the biggest kind of, or most vocal, shall we say, people about these changes. So it's a period of time where it's not like, oh my God, the world's falling, but you can see by what these companies are doing that they are absolutely concerned about the impact of not just this data system, but the fact that they are down on top of this data system as well. Because let's be honest, they're not putting the card out they were for Dynamite last week to get an extra 200 people through the door and on top of their worst ticket sales ever last year in Texas. That's not what they're doing, right? They're doing this because they are chasing that demo number. They are chasing these numbers on a weekly basis. And that's a big challenge for wrestling this year, especially because of the schedule, especially because we're going to go to Olympics, and we're going to March Madness, and then we're going to the NBA playoffs, and then we're going to the World Cup.
We got a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a huge amount going on this year, and sport is so much favoured in this new measurement that everything else that you do is measured in relation to that. And, they're struggling against not just that, but also they are losing more than entertainment is. And any questions when it comes to Nielsen, if you question them, well, you'll end up with many cease and desists, as people we know have. So it's tough, and unfortunately, it's not fair, but this is the system that they have to play to, so it's difficult. They'll hope, I think NXT and AEW will look at this week's numbers and probably breathe a sigh of relief and hope that continues. But we will kind of see where they end up. You won't see any UK numbers this year, by the way, so that's, you don't need to worry about them ones at all.
Trish Speaking of crazy shows and other things, I think we have a word from our sponsor that we need to take for a second. We've been asked to reach out from a firm that specializes in litigation. Were you or someone close to you a Ring of Honor wrestler between 2005 and 2017? You may be eligible for compensation, which includes an AEW championship or title opportunity. Are you a generic white man with a nondescriptive tough guy gimmick? Were you forced to use a faux MMA-style moveset and wrestle overly long matches? Did you perform in front of crowds of exclusively male wrestling nerds without a woman in sight? Our operators are standing by and will help to determine if you or your loved one is eligible for an AEW championship run. Call or text 1-800-REAL-GRAPS today.
What the fuck?
I couldn't help myself. I just watched Tommaso Ciampa this morning and I was like, yeah, why not? Sure.
Okay.
Let's give this man a TNT title. But yes, Tommaso Ciampa left WWE and debuted in AEW on Wednesday night of last week with the babyface gimmick of Psycho Killer.
Is he heel?
No, he's a babyface.
Is he babyface?
No, he's 100% a babyface. He did a giant post-match hug with Mark Briscoe and then a promo with his wife and child where he talked about how he was so grateful to be in AEW and it's where the best wrestling.
So he came in to be a babyface and defeated a babyface Mark Briscoe.
Yeah. Okay. And Kyle Fletcher came out after the match to challenge him. So Kyle Fletcher's back in your TNT title match mix.
Yeah, because... Okay.
It's just a misdirect, they told me. It's just a misdirect. Kyle Fletcher's not wanting to go back for the TNT title. Don Callis is making him do it.
Okay. Look, I listened to what Rich said on One Nation Radio around Ciampa, and I'll say, look, this is my opinion, okay? I get that he may not have been used to his complete skill set on the main roster in WWE. I've never had any interest in him. I didn't have an interest in when he was a heel in NXT. In fact, that whole black and gold presentation with him and Gargano and Cole is the reason why I watched AEW in the first place. It's the reason I watched New Japan in the first place. I'm not interested in it. I don't interested in seeing a 40-year-old man come in. My big issues with the presentation is, and you can think about it either way, is that you have El Clon, which is Erez, who someone is I am interested in, and he has a match with Mark Briscoe, and you do the match, and it's great, and it's just then to set up a guy coming in from WWE. I will never fucking not hate that. Like, you have the chance to elevate somebody, you know, who's fresh to television, and instead that's what you go with. Like, that sort of shit will drive me out of the wall continuously. But, and Mark Briscoe, what's the latest of the, you know, this elevation conversation really pisses me off because it's been framed kind of to the point where you can point out really stupid shit. But the whole point of don't tell me Mark Briscoe got elevated, but what we did was we gave him the win over MJF, but MJF is the guy at the top of the card now. Mark Briscoe gets you have a belt run, so look, we've pushed him, but actually he gets nothing, he doesn't move position, he doesn't do anything on TV, and all of a sudden, and then we do nothing in terms of keeping him hot as a babyface, because we just have him beat by another babyface coming in, a WWE guy that we then treat as greater than. Great, yeah. That's the sort of thing that'll just drive me out of the wall, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it comes in and does it. It doesn't matter if it's Ciampa, it doesn't matter if it's anyone else. The idea of him and Gargano teaming and other people will be thrown around, like, you can just, I might as well shoot myself in the head. Like, it's not for me. It's fine. Like, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, you know, but you've got to, it's the balance. It's the same thing if you now bring AJ in and, you know, you take that spot and it's the balance. If you get that balance wrong,
he's a babyface. I was going to say, he's a babyface. You know he's going to join the conglomeration and hang out with Kyle O'Reilly.
Sure,
and
whatever.
Do you think that Tony Khan, during the era when Black and Gold NXT was up against AEW Dynamite, do you think he watched Black and Gold NXT instead of Dynamite and liked it more? Because it sure as shit seems like he did. He doesn't seem to want to push any of the people that were on that show. He'd much rather push the Black and Gold NXT people.
It's just one of those things, isn't it? Like, they feel like they need to, you know, these are people who they maybe wanted previously, but they signed them because they want the buzz to sign them as well. Like, you know, we just talked about it. They're chasing ratings as well. There's an element to that too. That's why you're going on a signing spree. You don't want people to go to TNA as well. You don't want people trapping your doors. You know, if TNA's presence wasn't any sort of threat to their value, they wouldn't be not running against them on Thursday nights. Sorry.
I agree with that, and I get to some degree. Like I said it at the beginning of the show, or towards the beginning of the show. I understand if you want to compare, like if you're a wrestler and you want to compare Ciampa's debut to Hobbs's debut, it's a comparison to make, and I appreciate that. They're attempting to attract free agents and yada yada yada. But I'm with you where I'm like, why are we not featuring? I talked about this when they brought in freaking the Rascals and all these other folks. Like, why are we not featuring the 7,000 people we already have on the roster that are underutilized instead of bringing in someone who's going to probably be interesting for a little bit and then clog up the roster? And I'm sure people are like, it was a great match and he looked amazing and, they did a great job of presenting him. But, like, I don't know.
Well, Eros had O'Connor had a great match on Wednesday night and you sacrificed that for this guy. Sorry. And then you could have done a story with him and with Aramis, with Hologram, and you've scuttled that already. So that's the choices you've made. Like, it all depends. Again, this will be something that we won't ever agree with people or other people on, because it's dependent on where your investment lies, right? So if your investment lies with who this person was or what they did previously and you want to see them against this person and that person, you're going to be far more invested in it. Where if your investment lies in, I've invested in this program in AEW and I'm interested in this wrestler or that wrestler, and then they have to take a sideward step or they have to put over that person coming in, then you're not going to like it. You may grow in time to like that person or get invested in them. You may not. But it's like there will always be that kind of thing in the middle of that. And especially once you start to notice the kind of the booking patterns and the routines and that sort of thing, then that obviously becomes more of a issue. And it's not to say that there shouldn't be movement between companies. In fact, in terms of the very top, the lack of movement between WWE and AEW is one of the reasons that we're getting stagnation on both sides. But it's like, if you're going to...
I just think that if you look at all of these rematches that we've already had already, right? We've had a bunch of rematches of old classic matches. We had Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson. Was the match they had in AEW better than their Ring of Honor matches? No. You had Samoa Joe versus CM Punk. Was the match they had in AEW better than their Ring of Honor matches?
No.
I don't know, but I think you can argue with that. You had Okada versus Omega.
Yeah.
Was the match they had in AEW better than their... Right? You could argue, I'd say to you that the matches that Kenny had with Takeshita and that Okada had with Takeshita were better than that one. And I don't think that Okada versus Takeshita, I don't think we've even hit the top of what we could get with those guys. Right? So I just think for my money, there's nothing you've done that's been a nostalgia thing that's been better than the new stuff you've done. So why do we keep fucking going back to the nostalgia shit and prioritizing that over the new stuff? I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm just saying don't have it as much.
I think there's an element of wanting more of it in terms of just the way that it plays at the moment. Sorry. In terms of, there's a general, cultural thing of wanting nostalgia, right? Like, people go to greatest hits tours all the fucking time. They'll watch... You hear more talk sometimes around nostalgic TV programs or films. Or how many remakes of films have we got? What Jurassic Park are we on? Jurassic Park 7?
Oh, Jesus.
I don't fucking know.
It's Jurassic Park. It's a massive park. How could anything go wrong? Sorry.
Oh, dinosaurs are cute.
That's a very obscure reference.
They banned... Do you know they banned kids from watching that when it first came out in the UK?
Really?
Yeah, there was this thing your kids can't go watch Jurassic Park. It was, and it became part of their advertising campaign as well because it made the news and shit. But it was it's going to be this really scary film, and then you watch it and you're like, what the fuck?
They are weird about. They were at least weird about ratings for movies in the UK because I remember we went to see a 15 movie and my sister was clearly not 15 and they wouldn't let us in and my father was like, but I'm here. I am their parent. I'm saying they can watch it. And the guy was like, no, they can't watch it.
We have 12A now. You can have an adult and go.
Anyway,
sneaking into 15. Again. No, it's fine. Sneaking into 15s was a ritual, cultural ritual for young people in the UK. But no. So it's you just got to get the balance right. You need to be careful with it. Him coming in and winning the title off someone who won a belt but was never really pushed at a level any above where he was previously, and it then being. It's the same thing. Do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because it's a different level because the talent's different, but it's exactly the same setup in some ways that what they did with Okada with Eddie Kingston. Eddie gets the belt and it's this big, it's going to be this big moment, it's a big baby face, and then it's gone because we need to put this guy that's coming in over, and we only have so many people to do that, and they all have to be people that are part of that kind of crew that didn't come from WWE. Yeah, no. We'll see how that goes. He's not for me. You know, he may work out. He's just not for me. My opinion is always, you sign people that you think are going to add value to your roster. If he does, and he does, great. If he doesn't, yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? But yeah, he's not ever going to be for me because it's not my type of wrestler. I don't know. I've never connected with him. I didn't connect with him when he was in Ring of Honor, when he's on the Indies, when I've seen him here. I didn't connect with him when he was in WWE. That era of NXT, why do people not like him there? Because some of us didn't fucking like that. In fact, some of us were turned off by it. That's why we watch kind of everything else. It's like, the way those matches are structured, it's not for us. It's fine. But yeah, there'll continue to be that kind of divergence between the people that want like an AJ Styles to come in because they want to do a dream match with Kenny Omega, and we want to do a Will Ospreay dream match, and we want to do this, and we want to do that, and people who kind of just want to see the people they've invested in or new people come through and kind of witness their stories rather than reliving the ones that we've already seen but maybe not quite as well. So, last topic, because we've got 2 hours to go. Do you want to introduce the thing? Because I don't even know what started this. You just kind of sent it to me after I was kind of like waking up out of my week-long slumber from being sick of the dog. So, go on.
So this kind of got started based off of I think it was a woman wrestler in WWE. I don't know which one. I think it might have been Raquel. They all sort of run together.
I think it was Roxanne Perez. I asked Daniel and he said it was Roxanne.
Okay. But basically, the crowd was booing her, and people at ringside were booing her, and then she sort of went over the top rope and was talking to them, and the person who was booing her apologized for booing her. Or, it kind of tied back to that Maxine Dupree thing where Rhea Ripley tweeted scolding the audience for booing or talking about Maxine or saying Maxine didn't work very well or wasn't a good wrestler, and everyone's trying really hard. So there was a tweet that got made where the person said it's bad enough that wrestling heels aren't allowed to actually make fans angry anymore. Now the fans themselves aren't allowed to get angry at the heels anymore. And this sort of has kind of tied into a lot of the conversation that we've seen when it comes to MJF and other heels about how people are too soft these days and people who could get real heel heat. They should get real heel heat. Wrestling is an art form unlike any other. We should actively hate the heels. We shouldn't like them. And people want to be friends with the wrestlers and all that parasocial bullshit that you see nowadays. Yep. That is all over the place. And it's come up a lot with MJF, especially as people responding because of the terrible promo he gave in Manchester, where he compared Diddy to Swerve just because they're both black rappers. So Swerve must be a child molester like Diddy. But I don't know. It's kind of started a thing with me where like I'm trying to like sort of wait and see in this attitude. And I owe MJF an apology, and I will make it right here because I said a few weeks ago that there was no way that he was going to be able to do programs without getting racist or sexist. And he's still been a little bit sexist, but he has not been racist. He did the whole Bandito thing with no racism, which I apologize. I expected comments that I didn't get. And he's essentially been mostly non-offensive. Again, a little bit.
Well, he has to be right now.
Yeah. I mean, he has to be right now. But it's also tying into a whole other thing with him, which we're not going to get into today, but we'll talk about later. But, like, it is kind of funny because it does feel like it's boring. And I'm not saying it's boring because I want him to be racist or sexist. I'm saying I'm sort of shocked that, like, maybe I see why he was leaning so hard into some of those things because there's not much else there. It's sort of your town is terrible.
He doesn't need to be right now because they put so many baby faces after him in top contenders that people are so invested in the top contenders that they don't really have to pay much attention to him. That will kind of change a little bit as we get through Revolution because they'll go into more of a normal structure. But it's like, yeah, I can see the point in that. But I guess there's a thing of now is not what do people want heels to be, but how tough is it actually to be a heel in 2026? Because I think it's a case of how successful a heel is not the same as the way people sometimes see heels. So it's like you have this thing where in the way that we're talking, I know because the tweets mentioned Max that you brought him up, but the idea is that heels need to be racist or sexist or homophobic or any sort of thing like that, or nationalistic in order to get over seems to be the expectation from a lot of people.
Or it's okay if they are. Not
Yeah.
they have to be, but it's okay if they are. It's excusable if they are. It's
Okay.
actually, you're the one who doesn't quite understand this because you're like, why are you upset by this? They're supposed to make you upset. And I think,
Right.
for me, that's one of those things where it's like, I don't need to hate MJF as a human being in order to not to boo against him, right? Like I can like a wrestler and appreciate their work and still boo them as a heel. And I try to do that because I know that's the reaction they're looking for. I think Ricochet's great. I think he's done an amazing job. I'm going to boo the fuck out of him anytime I see him because that's what he wants, right? He doesn't have to be racist or sexist in order for me to do that. And I think one of the things that I find so upsetting is that people don't seem to understand how little some of us want to see racism or sexism in our entertainment. Like, I'm not, like, I don't want to see MJF get his comeuppance when he behaves that way, or anybody else. I don't want to say him specifically. Any heel. I don't want to see them get their comeuppance when they act that way. I don't want to watch the television show. I want to turn it off.
Because there's a line, and this line has always existed, contrary to maybe what some people believe. But the line is, do you want to pay to see a babyface, beat the heel? Or are you that turned off by a heel that you won't give them any money, right? If it's the latter and you're not willing to kind of pay for it because you just like, I don't want to watch this, then the heel's failed. Right. And, and then it's a case of, I think there's two things that go on here. So you then have the thing of, do you need to use these things? Well, no, like, if you look at, even in recent history, if you want to say that the most successful heel in the last 10 years has been Roman Reigns, does he use any of that stuff? Right. No. And I think that the discussion is completely out of place because, all right, like you've got this weird WWE example, okay. But in the most part, it's like, you don't need to do these things to have a successful heel. And it's the easiest that it's ever been to be a successful heel because the impetus is on you at the very top, right? The bookers seem to love heels being chased by baby faces rather than going with successful babyface runs. I remember Connor McFall, who writes for us at the newsletter, is fantastic. He wrote a great piece on why do we not have, long-term successful babyface champions? And it's because it's so much fucking harder to keep a babyface hot than it is a heel. And we've now got this environment where a heel can not just stick to their kind of role, where they start to playing other things. So it's like, I don't want to hear from a fucking heel in interviews in terms of how great a company is or anything like that. Don't want to do it. That's for your baby faces to do. I don't want to have the heel, being able to show more personality or having more backstory or having something that's easier to connect to than the babyface. And that's not to mean that they shouldn't have a character or they shouldn't have something that you connect to because, we see that in films and that thing now. You think about the Joker and think about things like that. That kind of anti-hero kind of dark heel is kind of popular. But it's also like, you should never be able to associate more with them than you can do with the baby faces. But your heels are the guys getting the promos. Your heels are the guys leading everything. Your heels are the guys that have, if they lose a match, they're then protected, but then they can get their heel heat very easily. Whereas the baby faces are left looking dumb and weak and stupid on the most majority of the time. And that's been the case now for feels like 15 years. And it's like, so it's not a heel problem. There is no problem with being a heel. You'll get the right reactions in that. And if you do it the right way, then people will want to beat you. And when it comes to it, when people look back at the last, however long, you'll look back and for WWE and you look at AEW, there's an argument with as much as Moxley was doing whatever the fuck he was doing at the start of last year with his promos. It's like, and whatever the wrestling was, it's like their argument will be, in the end, you had a money-making thing where people wanted to see that babyface beat that heel, right? And you had a massively successful event in Texas. You look at WWE, they're going to say, eventually, you got two babyfaces chasing that heel, who got over. Funny enough, the babyfaces that tend to get over are the ones that are not associated with the heel run beforehand, by the way, but they get over in the end. But it's like, they chase that heel, and then you made a ton of money at the end with that thing. So in their argument is the most successful baby faces in the last, decade in these companies. And Kenny Omega, 2021 add him to the list as well on this. It's like these guys had all the tools, but only used selective of them. They made sure that they didn't use all of them in order to, then you got that baby face moment to be bigger and over at the end, and they made a ton of money. So, but if you are not careful, you can do like that Manchester promo, and all the issues with that have been reported everywhere now. Even fucking Firefall reported it, and they will normally not report anything. But it's like, the biggest issue with it, take out, the backstage stuff and not telling anyone and all that shit, is you weaken the baby faces before you beat them. Because you went over your line as a heel. So I can be the funny guy, I can do this, I can rip down, put them down in character, I can put them down in terms of their status, and then I'm going to beat them. So it's now worthless that I beat them, but it's fine because I'm a heel and I can get my heat back because I can use these promos, and I can use all the attacks, and I can do all this, and the baby faces can't do that. So we now live in a structure where it's never been easier to be a heel because you can be a heel, whereas, and be able to use all these additional tools, which are formerly babyface tools. Whereas now the baby faces are left with so fucking little to work with. It's actually amazing that anybody manages to keep babyface for a long period of time. It really is. Because you just don't have the tools to work with. You're not getting the promo time the heels are. You're not the people speaking. You're not able to connect with the crowd. And that's why you get so many of these heel turns or heel runs that become faces. Because the characters seem more interesting because you get more time with them. You get more development with them. You know they're going to be more successful and people like to back winning horses. And it's like, I don't understand this heels can't be heels thing. Whereas, if a heel is, trying to play to a crowd and it's going very Rock 2003, where it's wink, wink, I'm not really a heel, I'm a good guy really, and we see too much of that fucking lately. It's like, no wonder they're going to get fucking cheered because you're playing to them. You're making yourself more interesting than the babyface is able to with the tools that they've got. I think there's much more of a babyface problem in this era than there is a heel problem.
I just think it's one of those situations where, if you're, I don't know, people talking about, but nobody understands heel heat anymore. Like, it's all we get all day, every day, all fucking time. Like, I understand it. I'm just telling you I don't like it.
That fucking Rumble show was full of heel heat. That's what they've gone back to. We've gone back to we have to have fucking heels all the time.
Right.
It's much
Drew beat the shit out of Sammy.
Yeah.
Gunther beat the crap out of AJ.
Yeah.
Like, like, I get it. And I think that's a piece of it where it's just like, if you're, I just think that there's a point sometimes where people are just too quick to be like, people understand, like, it's 2026. People understand that wrestlers are human beings who are playing roles.
Yep.
You're not going to go back to that time in the world where, somebody chased somebody to their car and, somebody, they couldn't, that's over. I'm sorry that it's not the way that it was. It's never coming back. And somebody doing that, like, because again, Tunnel Talk brought this up today, which I thought was a good point. You end up in a situation where at some point the heel might turn babyface and expect me to cheer for him.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to do that after he said all this horrible, shitty stuff, or he treated women like crap, or he was sexist and misogynist and racist to somebody. Like, that's supposed to be somebody I'm then supposed to turn around and cheer for? Like, he's not disappearing off TV ever. He's
not leaving the territory.
Right. He's been there for 52 fucking weeks out of the year, and I got to listen to it. Like, forgive me if, like, and that is not to say, like, the other part of it, too, is, like, think about all the great feuds that we've had in AEW that haven't involved any of that, right? Yep. You had your first black world champion in Swerve. Yep. Hangman didn't have a racist program with him. Ospreay didn't have a racist program with him. Samoa Joe didn't have a racist program with him. Bryan Danielson didn't have a racist program with him. Like, it didn't come up. It wasn't a thing that got mentioned. It didn't need to be. Those guys found other reasons to have to base the feud and other stuff to build a feud around. Yeah, so that's the part.
You just got to be clever.
Right. And maybe that's just hard for people these days. I don't know. But I just think that, like, it's not acceptable. And when people complain about it, if somebody says to you, I really didn't like this, I thought it crossed the line. If the response is, well, you just don't understand heels, like, you don't quite get the heel dynamic, like, shut the fuck up. Like, stop. In 2026, stop. Listen to yourself and think, hey, maybe we could do this a little bit differently. Yeah, that's how they did it in the territory days and, Harley race and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not how we need to do it in 2026. And maybe we should just reconsider that for a minute. Like, seriously.
But it's that, and it's also the fact that they used to do that as like a carny thing, right? To get people through the doors because, getting the crowd in was the biggest thing, right? So if it meant that we could attack the heel, that's not the era that they live in now. They live in an era where you have to market everybody, but also, like, it's weekly television. It's week after week after week. Like,
right.
You have to get people to invest in following these stories and following these journeys and that sort of thing. And it's like, you don't do that if you just resort to the kind of the cheap tricks. And all you'll do is you just weaken your baby faces. Like, this is the lesson to learn from what they did in WWE for the 2010s, for all the heel heat and all the stupid lines, and every time we made the baby face look dumb. And it's like, that's what it does. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. And if people eventually stop believing your baby faces, which is exactly what happened there. Because what's the point in believing them? What's the point in investing in them? Because they're going to get a lot less. To the point where people actually want them to turn heel half the time because they know they're going to get more. But
you also can't do this shit and then want people to like you. right?
Yeah.
And then desperately want people to like you as a person.
Well, you can't.
It's not going to fucking work.
You've got to have...
And if you think, no, go ahead.
No, go on.
If you think that you're going to end up getting like a group of people that are going to get on your side because no, it's okay, I did this. That's what they did in the territory days. Like, you're not, and no amount of pandering is going to get you that back either.
And that's the thing. If you're going to play a heel, play a fucking heel. That bugs me to know. Don't fucking do social media things where you play as a good guy. Don't fucking do stuff in other promotions where you play as a good guy, or do this sort of thing, or I need to do this, or I need to represent the country. No, you need to play a heel. You've got to give the babyface something. You are there to get the babyface over. You're not there to get yourself over. And that's the same with the moveset. The people that we look at and think have been the most successful heels in recent years are ones that, they don't try and have a babyface moveset. And they try and keep things kind of authentic, but also, they play the fucking heel. And the big problem, as I said, the biggest thing I always think of is that we hear far more from the heels than the babyfaces. No wonder they get fucking over more. And some of that's driven by that. And it's like, they can't be in control of all these segments all the time. And it's like, it's also a question of, the most successful ones are the ones that are most believable. Because the people that try to play heel, that you either don't believe them or they don't even put any effort into being like that. Like John Cena, right? It's inauthentic. You knew, like, he's not the heel guy. Like, no one believed that character, not fucking once. They didn't want to boo him. Like, and it's the same with, like, Becky Lynch, right? So especially, they make it harder for themselves, and this is that thing of presenting away from the screen. As if you watch that Unreal thing, like, Becky Lynch comes across as probably the most likeable person in the whole fucking company. Maybe not on social media, but in that show she does, and you think, this is your top woman's heel. And it's like, that's the thing, you have to get that line right. So if you're presenting someone as a heel and you don't want people associating with thinking they're great in that moment, and it turns out, oh, look at this person sort of thing. It's like, no, just play the fucking heel. And it's like, they struggle with that because they try and have this second world kind of eye view. And other people do this in other companies as well, where they want to get themselves over as a person. They want to get themselves over as a performer, as in, like, I'm this to this company. Actually, just play the fucking heel. Let your babyfaces do that. If you want to play that person, eventually go babyface. Like, you're not helping the people you're working with by being in this situation. You're not helping the people you're working with by playing yourself to hardcores and being more over than they are. And that's where they found out with the Becky Lynch thing last year, And the other thing is that you do, stop fucking turning people heel when they come back. They're not going to get fucking booed. They're going to get cheered. What do you think's going to fucking happen? And then what happens is, that's the quickest way to kill your fucking baby faces. And they do that far too fucking often. And we see it. Same when people come in and they debut and they put them in heel. Doesn't work either, does it? Of course it doesn't. No. People want to cheer for them. So you have to pick your timing right. You need to pick it like that. None of this makes being a heel difficult. It's still much more easy than being a babyface. That's why so many people prefer it. It's why when they train you up to be a heel first because it's easier. It's why heel world champions early on, the couple 2-month run in New Japan was always so popular, because it's a way to get you settled in, experience everything, without the pressure of being the babyface. It's so much harder. But yeah, I think the conversation is completely opposite. I think the conversation is how much more difficult it is to be a babyface and sustain as a babyface these days than it is a heel. And it seems to be that we have this conversation because people seem to have this absolute want for be able to go back to some sort of territory day where someone can be racist or someone can be homophobic or they can be sexist. And it's like, sometimes I wonder
why do you want that?
Is that an expression of things that they want?
Why do you want that?
Yeah, but
that's not good.
No,
that's not cool.
It almost feels like that political thing that we have at the moment where people feel like, oh, I can't say what I really think or I really feel, or why do you feel that way? Why do you not understand why that's not acceptable anymore? Like, there's a cultural thing in this as well in terms of that argument, but I don't see that any barriers to people being great heels these days. I don't. I think if it's basically a determination of whether you're clever or not to get over as a heel or not, in terms of being able to put your baby faces over, or whether you need to rely on cheap tricks for cheap pops because you don't have the creativity to do anything more than that. Sorry. And that comes the same with ring structure as well. You can do ring structure and you can structure your matches for around the babyface comebacks and making sure that they get the kind of the big moments, or you can do things that make you get over because, I'm just as good as a heel and that sort of thing. And it's like, what's the fucking point? These are basic psychology things, and they're the things that are probably where heel work is lesser than perhaps what it was in the past, because every person wants to be over, right? Every person wants to be the center of the show. Every person wants to sell merch. Every person wants to do this. And it's like, it's not your role. Like, it's not a case of heels can't do this anymore, heels can't do that. It's a case of, can a heel get a babyface over? Because that's their job. Like, we're having a different conversation from what we should be. And
it's all right.
No, I don't mean us, but I do mean in general.
I'm like, I don't know what conversation you think we should be having. I think this one is good.
No, but that's what I mean. It's like, it's the thing is it's that expectation, right? And then we justify everything. So then when we're doing stuff that hurts baby faces, like House of Torture, right? Perfect example. Like, we're doing stuff that hurts baby faces, but it's fine because we think it gets a reaction. And we think it's that, but it's not the right reaction. And then you're just hurting the people that could potentially make you money. And the people that potentially make you far more money, because successful baby faces will make far more money than successful heels if you push them properly and you book them properly. And if you can tell me that history shows that differently, then you're fucking lying. You know, you tell me someone made more money than Stone Cold Steve Austin in that era. Come and tell me that someone made more money than, you know, Hulk Hogan in that era. Like, this is a recent thing that's developed from that WWE mentality where we think we have to base everything on this long fucking heel chase, and that's what has to be successful, and only heels can get over and that sort of thing, and babyfaces don't get over. And of course they don't get over because you make them look fucking stupid. Yeah. I think it's bollocks. Be more creative. Be cleverer.
Work more creative.
Harder. Yeah, work better through
Be more
psychology
creative.
in terms of your match structures. Make sure that the babyface gets time to talk and to connect to the audience, because you should never be getting more time to connect to the audience than the babyfaces. You're a fucking heel. You're there to get them over, not the other way around. And that's the problem with the psychology with heel work these days, and it's got nothing to do with they're not racist enough or sexist enough or homophobic enough or can't say things that shock the world. Like, who the fuck cares? Tell better stories. Like, wrestle better.
Tell better stories.
Just do your
I can
job.
tell better stories. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Do a better job.
Yes. Right.
Trish, before we sign off, there is one thing I need to say. I have to acknowledge a request from friend of the podcast, Matt. He wanted me to make sure I've told everybody that motherfuckers should know that New England is back in the Super Bowl. So there you go, Matt. Mission accomplished. Right. So I heard the start of your thing with Jesse, and it was so funny because I was like, Sarah's talking sports on a podcast, and it's not with me. Like, what the fuck? We don't do small talk, bitch. We save our small talk for our personal lives. No,
yeah, until we go on other podcasts, and then people are like, "Oh, can I talk to you about football?"
They want to know more about us, which I think is disturbing and weird. Like, I don't fucking want to know anything about. These are voices on the radio. You don't need to know anything about me. You don't need to know anything about me. I'm annoyed people even know what I look like. Quite frankly, like it's just not anybody's business. Okay, I'm just gonna say that straight out. It's not your business. My life.
Well, look, it's the Super Bowl next weekend, is it? Do you think the Patriots are going to win? Are they your adopted team? Have you adopted them being like an adopted Bostonian?
I will say this about myself after I say something about myself. Okay. I moved to Boston, and I was always growing up. I watched baseball. I watched baseball with my grandmother. Baseball was my sport. I never watched football. What'd you say?
Nothing.
You better not. My poor grandmother, rest in peace.
I'm sorry. No, you go. No.
Yeah, the Yankees, motherfucker.
Yep.
We beat you. We beat your ass in 2000. Don't think I don't remember that Subway Series. 6 games. 6 games. Anyway, I drove 16 hours each way over a weekend to see that on television with her. That was how committed I was to that team.
Now I feel really guilty.
Yeah, you should feel guilty. You should. She's up there going, huh? Anyway, I moved to Massachusetts. I had no friends. I didn't know anybody. It was a period of time. The Patriots had a backup quarterback named Tom Brady who went to the University of Michigan, which is a school I am familiar with. And I said, I guess I'll watch this. I got nothing else to do. They went to the Super Bowl that year, Trish. So I kind of said, hey, I got to keep doing this. These guys are pretty good. Fair. And so that I'm not really, I can't say I'm a fanatic football fan, but I'm going to watch the Patriots. I don't think they're going to beat Seattle. I don't think who knows? They're playing with, as Jesse said, they're playing with house money. They shouldn't even be in the Super Bowl, quite frankly.
No.
The poor Bills fans have to be out of their fucking goddamn minds, but.
Well, you play one in the snow, What can you do?
You play the games you're given. You get the opponents you have.
You do indeed. Yeah.
That's all that can be said about it. So yeah, we talked about sports, and I said something about myself personal after I screamed about not doing it. Maybe I'll make Leah cut this.
Oh, yeah. Right, anyway, Phil, I don't remember what the point was.
We just went off on a tangent, Trish.
We did.
I did another podcast, and you don't know what to do about it.
I don't know. I enjoyed listening to it.
I had a fun time.
That was good.
I love Jesse. I'm always honored whenever he asks me to do a show. It's very sweet, and I have a good time talking to him because we disagree on a lot of things, so I think it makes for interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's always, we like discussion far more than we do anything else, I think. So cool. Right. Am I wrapping up? Are we doing that? Is that what we're doing? Is Leah?
I think we're done. She sat up, so I think we do have to.
Is she pointing to like her watch, like Tanahashi was for Naito's entrance? Yeah, she is. There we go. I might just I'm gonna carry on wambling now for 10 minutes like Naito did for his entrance, just walking down. You can be Bushi. We'll give you some flowers.
I have to be Bushi? God.
Well, we didn't bring anybody
Can
else.
I at least be Sonata?
We didn't bring Sonata, did he?
I know, but can't we pretend Sonata was there? It's our imaginations.
Only if you can think about which outfit from Sonata you would wear.
Oh, I would definitely be wearing the pleather diaper. I loved that one with the big shoes. And the little crop top mesh shirt.
Like the yellow shoe, the big yellow shoes. The ones.
Maybe the big yellow shoes.
I feel like Popeye.
The pleather diaper with the crop top mesh shirt, he needs like a mule type sandal that he can kick off on his way to the pool. Because he's about to meet his sugar daddy.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what he can wear once he gets his arms sorted out. Anyway, okay, so. God damn it.
This has been a deranged episode of the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast.
It has been very much deranged. Produced by the wonderful Leah, who may cut some of this end bit or may not. Leah is...
Also deranged.
And also deranged is Tunnel Talk. Yay!
Which is fucking back, bitches!
Yeah, back every Sunday, thank God, because we were on a real drought. Every Sunday on Social Suplex Network. Get your Tunnel Talk fix. Best breakdown of stories, characters, and everything else in AEW. Who are you're still missing out. We're still missing Ali, aren't we? But
yes,
Mike did a fantastic job of stepping in. So thank you very much. It's nice to have you back. You can listen to Tunnel Talk and all the rest of our podcasts on the Social Suplex Network, including our new recruit, Joshing Around, on all your podcast feeds or wherever you get your podcasts on. Red Circle, I've lost it. I don't know, wherever else. Spotify, wherever else. I don't know. Listen to podcasts. Please support the network. You can also join the Social Suplex Discord. You can discuss everything with pretty much every host of podcasts on the network, as well as sports, everything else, anything else that you want to discuss, really. We're all there. You can also find us at Trish and Sarah Pod. Trish and Sarah Pod. I fucked that up, haven't I? Yeah, Trish and Sarah Pod at gmail.com is our email address, not our Twitter, because I can't get this right. You can email us at trishandsarahpod@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at Trish and Sarah. You can find us on Blue Sky under our own acronyms because it's never getting fixed and Blue Sky doesn't really allow us to, so apologies for that. And that's it, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time after the Super Bowl, so you can talk sports then. There you go. Yeah. Poor Chris in LA is crying already about the prospect of sports talk. But yeah, we'll be back then in 2 weeks' time. So until then, I've been Trish.
And I've been Sarah.
This has been the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for listening.